the maximum level expert. She thrives in interstellar riches. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401 Stray Animal Shelter 1. Wen Jiu didn't know that she had been remembered by two people, and they even assumed that she was their half-sister. She calculated for a moment according to the machine data provided by Ming-Yihan, and then substituted the calculated new values into the formula of snowflake crisps. You can ask the factory to make it again according to this formula tomorrow. If there are any problems, you can always contact me. If there are no problems, speed up the production. She now hopes that the free batches of snowflake crisps can be shipped as soon as possible. She exported the information of fans who placed orders in the Bicker store and sent it to Ming-Yihan 2 days ago. At that time, Wuiyao Food can package and ship directly and can also announce the news of her cooperation with Wuiyao Food on Xingbo. In this way, she doesn't have to worry about the subsequent shipping matters. It can be said that she has achieved 3 goals with 1 stone. Okay, I will ask them to redo it as soon as possible. Ming-Yihan quickly agreed. He also hopes to ship it earlier. Wuiyao Food's competitors are also preparing new products during this period. It is said that they have also found a well-known food anchor to do a joint name. This is clearly intended to compete with Wuiyao Food. Therefore, he wanted to ship the products as soon as possible to seize the initiative, so as not to be suppressed by the other party in marketing. Fortunately, Wen Jiu was quite powerful. On the day of signing the contract, he hinted in the Anchor Dynamics and Xingbo that he had found a reliable food processing factory, which successfully attracted the attention of many fans. However, the snowflake crisps they cooperated with have not been produced and shipped yet, so the news of the cooperation has not been officially announced. Okay, then you can contact me directly if you have any news tomorrow. Wen Jiu saw that it was getting late, so he wanted to hang up the phone and rest early. In addition to being busy with the medicine and snowflake crisps, she had to run between Wen Jiu restaurant and the scrapyard these days. The main reason was that there were too many stray animals on Grandma Zhao's side, and the other party had kindly taken care of her before. Therefore, she has been thinking about how to help Grandma Zhao, and if she continues like this, those stray animals will be pitiful. Ming-Yihan originally wanted to hang up the phone after agreeing, but after an idea flashed through his mind, he quickly said, "Zhao Jiu, I want to transfer another amount to you as a deposit, okay?" Wen Jiu was confused by this. Didn't they agree on the deposit for the recipe authorization this time? The deposit for the authorization of the snowflake crisp recipe is 1.6 million star coins. After the subsequent shipments and sales, she will be paid according to the share in the contract, and she will be paid dividends at a fixed time. In fact, she felt that the price was a bit too high, but Ming-Yihan had set the price and refused to lower it no matter what. You know, the other party initially offered 2 million star coins, and it took Wen Jiu a long time to bargain for the 1.6 million. Brother, you really gave too much. She decisively refused. Not that she didn't want the money, her goal was to become the richest man in the Federation. The main reason was that she felt that the recipe of the snowflake crisp was not her own. Although authorization and buyout are not the same thing, she still felt that she was somewhat guilty for exchanging the recipe for so much money. However, she has never monopolized any recipes. After each live broadcast, she will post the recipes of the dishes cooked in the live broadcast to the Anchor's Dynamics, and she will also check the homework of fans when she is free. She still hopes that more people can learn to cook so that they can taste the blue star delicacies of the past. Zhao Jiu, this is really not much. Ming-Yihan sighed helplessly. You are from the digital planet, and there must be many places to spend money. In fact, 2 million is really nothing to him. He is mainly thinking that Wen Jiu is from a low-level planet. If she has to continue to study in a military school after graduating from the preparatory military academy, this is a considerable expense. Most military schools have to pay high tuition fees, and he is worried that the other party will not have enough money to spend. After all, Wen Jiu came to do live broadcasts to make money at a young age. He saw that the other party really insisted on working in the cafeteria, which shows that the girl's family must be very poor. And he was afraid that he would hurt Wen Jiu's self-esteem, so he used the digital planet to refer to the low-level planet. Thank you for your kindness, brother. How about this? Wen Jiu thought for a moment before answering. She actually thought of a good idea. She was worrying about how to solve the plight of Grandma Zhao, but after worrying about it, the solution was actually very simple. That is, to find a place to adopt those stray animals. It's just that finding a place and building a stray animal shelter base costs money, including the subsequent feeding and sheltering of stray animals. To put it bluntly, as long as there is money, the current problem can be solved. Wen Jiu is not unwilling to pay money to help Grandma Zhao, but she thinks that it is not a solution to adopt them for a long time. She still has to help these stray animals find owners, so she didn't think about it in a deeper direction before. But now she has an idea. This time, she authorized the formula of snowflake crisps to Wuao Food. If the cooperation goes smoothly, she will definitely cooperate with the other party for a long time. Ming Yahan is willing to give her such a high licensing fee, so she can take out the extra part as a charity fund for the stray animal adoption center. In this way, she can make money and feel more at ease, and can also help Grandma Zhao solve her current predicament. Your idea is very good, and this is the star coins you deserve. You can spend it however you want. Ming Yahan was a little surprised after hearing Wen Jiu's idea, because he never expected that the other party would donate the money and donate it to adopt those stray animals. Although there are charitable foundations under the name of their Ming family, these foundations are ostensibly for charity, but in fact they exist to maintain the reputation of the Ming family. So Wen Jiu's idea really surprised him. He thought that the other party would either not accept the additional money or just take the money. As for donating money to charity to adopt stray animals, he really hadn't thought about it in this direction. Then these 400,000 star coins will all be used as charity money. Send me the account for receiving the money tomorrow. It may not be possible tomorrow. I still have to find out the situation. It is not enough to adopt so many stray animals. She must first find a place that can be used as an adoption center, and then build and purchase the infrastructure of the center, and she must also apply for qualifications from the Animal Management Bureau. So after Wen Jiu talked to Ming Yahan and hung up the phone, he began to search for information about stray animal adoption centers on the Star Network. Today's first update has been delivered. Thank you to every little angel for your support. It's already a daily thank you, hahaha, but the little author really thanks everyone. 030. Chapter 402 Stray Animal Shelter 2. What do you think of my idea? If there is no problem, we will go to Grandma Zhao to discuss it this afternoon. Wen Jiu expressed his idea of setting up a shelter for stray animals, and the other three people had different expressions. I think this idea is good, but Jiu, have you ever considered that once this shelter is established, it will have to accommodate stray animals continuously in the future, which requires a lot of star coins and energy. Shish's words make sense, but if Jiu, you really want to do it, I can ask my family to donate some money. Anyway, my parents often do charity, so it's better to donate this money to you. Kyo Shishi and Zikingayu thought of different problems, but they all stood from Wen Jiu's perspective. Although they supported the other party to set up a shelter for stray animals, it would indeed cost a lot of star coins and energy to do this, so they felt that this matter needed more consideration. As for Chu Jian, he sneered a few times and did not express his opinion. He felt that Wen Jiu's behavior was purely being taken advantage of. But he was happy to see the other party suffer, so he didn't say anything. Hearing this, Wen Jiu shook his head and said, I don't think we need to worry too much about star coins. It's mainly because it's difficult to find a place to serve as a shelter and find people to manage it. 400,000 star coins may not be a big deal on a mid-level or high-level planet, but it's enough to buy a house on a low-level planet. Maybe it's not enough to buy a house in the civilian area, but it's more than enough in the slums over there with Grandma Zhao. Let's go to Grandma Zhao to discuss it and ask her what she thinks. Wen Jiu felt that it was useless for them to think more. If Grandma Zhao didn't want to move the animals, it would be useless. After the four locked the door of Wen's restaurant, they prepared to walk towards the entrance of the scenic area. Before they took a few steps, they heard a rough and deep voice. "Little boss, I'm here to send you clothes." Zhang Zuangshi strode towards Wen Jiu. He didn't come to open the store because he had something to do at home a few days ago. Today, he finally solved it and returned to the commercial area. The first thing he did when he came back was to send the clothes he had made in his spare time to Wen Jiu. "This is what I forgot to bring you before." Zhang Zuangshi handed over the bag. "I thought that spring is coming, and the two dolls need to wear spring clothes, so I made 2 sets for you." He was very serious about raising cotton dolls, thinking that dolls were just like people, and they should change clothes according to the season. Thank you." Wen Jiu took the bag with a smile, but no one noticed that her other hand secretly clenched her fist. When she thought of the cotton doll, she thought of the handsome boy, the hateful liar who cheated her doll away. Speaking of which, she went to the doll shop to find Zhang Zuangshi these days, but the other party seemed to have something to do and did not open, so she still didn't know what the relationship between the doll and the handsome boy was. So she hurriedly continued, "Brother owner, let's add a Star Network account." It was all her fault that she forgot to add Zhang Zuangshi's Star Network account before. Otherwise she could use Star Network to contact him and wouldn't have to worry about not being able to find him. Okay. Zhang Zuangshi quickly called up his StarNet code. "Then let's contact each other on StarNet later. I see you are in a hurry to go out, so I won't talk much." After saying goodbye to Zhang Zuangshi, Wen Jiu and the other 3 hurried to the exit of the scenic area. They were always lucky in catching the floating bus, and they could always catch the floating bus that just came. Wen Jiu was worried all the way about what to do if Grandma Zhao didn't agree. The other party really had no money to spend, and those stray animals didn't have time to spend. Fortunately, Grandma Zhao was not a stubborn person. After listening to Wen Jiu's idea, she agreed. However, she was a little worried about whether the stray animal shelter could be established. The Animal Management Bureau also sent people to check the situation in the past 2 days, but the shelter over there really reached the maximum capacity. Therefore, she could only find a way to solve the stray animals on her side, but the number of people willing to adopt stray animals was far less than the number of stray animals. Moreover, the shack she built casually was both simple and crude. If she and Wang Nan hadn't taken care of it carefully all day long and laid a lot of cotton and straw for the stray animals to keep warm, they would have been frozen sick in such a cold weather. Zhao Jiu, are there really kind people willing to donate? Grandma Zhao looked at Wen Jiu with some concern. After all, it is not easy to set up a stray animal shelter, and she didn't want him to become like her because of this. She felt that Wen Jiu had finally lived a good life, and she didn't want to drag him down because of this matter. Grandma Zhao, don't worry, there is more than one kind person willing to donate. Wen Jiu took Grandma Zhao's hand and patted it gently, which was a way to comfort her. First, a kind person contacted me and said that he was willing to donate 400,000 star coins. Not long after, another kind person said that we should set up the stray animal shelter first, and he would donate to us immediately if we were short of money. She was indeed not lying to Grandma Zhao, but she didn't say that the kind person was herself. Thank you so much to these kind people. Do we need to treat them to a meal or give them some gifts? Hearing this, Grandma Zhao stood up excitedly, and the others hurriedly persuaded her to sit down. No. Wen Jiu quickly comforted her. Those kind people just want to do some good deeds without asking for anything in return. She felt that there was no need to tell Grandma Zhao about her donation. After all, she couldn't explain the source of the money in a short time, so it was better to turn a blind eye to it. Do you know the name of the kind person who is willing to donate 400,000 star coins? I don't have much to give at my age, but I heard that there is a wishing well on a mountain that is particularly effective. I will go and find out the specific location and then write the name of this kind person on the sign and let the gods bless him with peace and worry. Wen Jiu didn't expect Grandma Zhao to be so superstitious. You know, in the interstellar era, not many people believe in metaphysics. But she didn't know what the wishing well was, so she just took Grandma Zao's hand and said seriously, Grandma Zao, we must put an end to feudal superstition. Kyoshi and Zikingayu almost laughed out loud when they heard this, because Wen Jiu was the one who was most associated with feudal superstition. The way he told them to bring their amulets was enough to make anyone say he was really superstitious. TSK. Chu Jian crossed his arms and raised his chin slightly. It can be seen that he was very disdainful of the gods. Today's second update has also been successfully delivered. I hope the little angels enjoy reading 030. Chapter 403 Stray Animal Shelter 3. However, except for Wen Jiu, everyone present was discussing how to set up a shelter center, and they didn't notice Chu Jian's disdain at all. She just glanced at Chu Jian inconspicuously, then retracted her gaze and said casually, Grandma Zao, do you and Brother Wang know where there is a vacant land that can be rented? Hey, don't tell me. I actually know a place. Wang Nan slapped her head and remembered that the scrap business has not been doing well recently. Several scrapyards are on the verge of bankruptcy and are worried about transferring the leased land. The area of land required to open a scrapyard is not small enough to build a stray animal shelter. Isn't ZOC's scrapyard next door being transferred? We can rent it and find an engineering team to clean it up quickly. The scrapyard mentioned by Wang Nan is not far from Grandma Zao, and it can be reached in 10 minutes by foot. So when Jiu asked Kyoshi and Zikingayu to stay with Grandma Zao, and he took Chu Jian with him to follow Wang Nan to ask about the situation. The three of them walked very fast, so they arrived at ZOC scrap station in a short time. As Wang Nan said, the station master ZOC was in a hurry to transfer the land. I want a transfer fee of 200,000 yuan. Can I sell this land to you directly? ZOC, the transfer fee for your land is 150,000 yuan, no more. You see, it's a mess everywhere. We have to hire an engineering team to dismantle and clean it up. It will cost at least 30,000 to 50,000 yuan. Wang Nan used his usual ability to bargain and fought with the station master ZOC for a long time. In the end, he won the land at a price of 160,000 star coins. However, the process of subletting ZOC's land still needs to be followed, so when Jiu could only send a message to Yu Ruman, asking her to go to the land bureau to help him handle the sublease procedures. Fortunately, Yu Ruman was free today, so she agreed to meet at the land bureau. Wait a minute, when Jiu stood at the door of the land bureau, brother, come with me. She let Wang Nan and ZOC go into the land bureau first, then pulled Chu Jian to a corner, took out a hat from the Ziji space, and handed it to him. Put this on. I'm afraid that teacher you will recognize you. She was thinking about the shelter on the way, and didn't think about Chu Jian's situation at all. Since Chu Jian was forced to dye his hair by her, he started to learn makeup, as if he had accepted his fate. He now uses makeup to simply decorate himself every day, and with the black hair, dyed by Wen Jiu, at least from the outside, he does not have the previous fierce feeling, and has a strange feeling of a gentle big brother. Seeing this, Chu Jian took out a pair of black framed glasses from his jacket pocket, and then said with disgust, I don't want to wear a hat, it makes me look like a wanted criminal on the run. Aren't you? When Jiu took back the hat coldly, directly stabbing the other person in the heart. Because of Chu Jian's identity, he has not been able to use the wisdom ring so far, and can only put the items in his pocket or bag. Squat down and let me see. When Jiu looked at him carefully, when did you buy these glasses? After wearing them, you look like a model student. Chu Jian resisted the urge to roll his eyes. The day before yesterday, when we were strolling in the mall, we encountered an event. Buy 10 pairs of socks and you can get a 10% discount and a pair of black framed glasses for free. When he said this, when Jiu remembered, I'm busy recently, and forget things easily. She asked Chu Jian where he got the money to buy glasses. She thought he finally had money to pay off his debts, but it turned out that the money was spent from her. The two were whispering in a corner, and suddenly they heard the sound of high heels. Without even turning back to check, when Jiu knew that it must be Yu Ruman. She quickly tugged at Chujayan's clothes, reminding him to stay calm and not get emotional and reveal flaws. Didn't you say we were going to handle the land transfer procedures? What are you doing out here? Ruman seemed to be in a very good mood today. She pursed her lips, which were painted with maroon lip glaze, and drew a thin black eyeliner at the end of her eyes. When she smiled, she was charming and seductive. But her smile soon became less bright because she saw a big boy squatting next to Wen Jiu. It was obvious that the other party was not a student of the 3047 Academy, and Kyojuan had mentioned in a message to her before that Wen Jiu seemed to have a brother of unknown origin. She was the one who adopted Wen Jiu, so she naturally knew his background very well. Wen Jiu didn't have any brother, and he had always lived alone. Teacher Yu, I'm waiting for you. Wen Jiu greeted him with a smile. I have to trouble you again. She had just troubled Ruman to help her sign the contract a few days ago, and today she had to trouble him to help her handle the land transfer. Ruman first replied with a smile. These things are not a big deal. Just make me some more desserts as gifts. After that, she glanced at the person behind Wen Jiu, who nodded to her with a faint smile as a greeting. Chujayan deliberately weakened the contours of his eyebrows and eyes with makeup, and with his drooping bangs and black framed glasses, he looked like a harmless and gentle young man. However, Ruman ignored him and just took Wen Jiu's hand and walked towards the door of the land bureau. Chujayan was not dissatisfied with this, but just maintained his image as a gentle big brother and followed them silently. Jiu, who is this person next to you? Wan Nan was stunned for a while by Ruman's appearance, but he soon realized that he shouldn't stare at her like that, so he quickly coughed to divert his attention. Wen Jiu introduced openly, her surname is Yu, and she is the beautiful sister who adopted me. The contract must be signed by the guardian, so I asked her to come and help. Wan Nan did not expect that the person who adopted Wen Jiu was so young and so beautiful and hot, which really made him sigh that the other party was so lucky. But now is not the time for him to think so much, and he still has to do things seriously. When he and ZOC came in, they asked about the procedures for transferring the land. Now that Wen Jiu's guardian is here, they just need to follow the procedures. The speed of handling procedures at the Land Bureau is still quite fast, and they have completed the procedures in less than half an hour. Since there is nothing else, I will leave first. Ruman leaned over and left a lip print on Wen Jiu's cheek. You can always find me if you have any questions. Don't think it's troublesome. After saying that, she stepped on her high heels and left the Land Bureau first. After she walked to an open place, she summoned a hover motorcycle, then turned on the light curtain panel and quickly dialed the phone. I'm applying to investigate the boy who appeared next to Wen Jiu. He is 1.88 meters tall with black hair and brown eyes. He has traces of hair dyeing and is suspected of wearing eye coloring pads. Today's third update has also been delivered. Angels who follow the update should go to bed early after reading it. 030. Chapter 404 Seaweed Wontons 1. After successfully solving the problem of where to build the shelter, Wan Nan patted his chest and assured Wen Jiu that she didn't need to worry about finding a construction team to dismantle and clean up. After ZOC's scrapyard was dismantled and cleaned up, he would contact Wen Jiu in time to discuss the follow-up matters. Then I'll trouble you, brother Wan Nan. Wen Jiu and the other three stood at the door of Grandma Zhao's scrapyard. They had to rush back to Wenji restaurant to open for the evening business, so they couldn't waste any more time here. No trouble, no trouble. This is what I should do. Wan Nan scratched his head a little embarrassedly, and the blush on his thin and sallow face was particularly conspicuous. Thinking back to when Wen Jiu came to the scrapyard to sell scrap, he not only thought about lowering the price, but also had some crooked ideas. Who knew that people were willing to help them now regardless of the past, and everything he did these days made him feel ashamed of his former self. So he took advantage of Wen Jiu and the others not leaving yet, and quickly pulled him aside and said, Jiu, do you remember that I wanted to buy your rope? It wasn't actually a rope, it was a very valuable weapon. Let me first say sorry to you. I shouldn't have offered you a low price at the time, and I was thinking of buying it back and reselling it at a higher price. Wen Jiu certainly remembered this incident, but she didn't care about it. If Wang Nan hadn't been staring at the golden whip she picked up, she wouldn't have thought so much and kept the golden whip with her. Although Wang Nan was particularly concerned about money, he was not a bad person. Now that Grandma Zhao was in financial difficulties and couldn't pay her salary, he didn't choose to run away and find another job, and he had been helping Grandma Zhao take care of the stray animals. Therefore, Wen Jiu accepted Wang Nan's apology and then chatted with the other 3 people casually before leaving. Along the way, Zikingai's mouth never stopped. He had been looking for relevant information about the establishment of a stray animal shelter and shared it with Kaioshishi while searching. Wen Jiu originally wanted to take a nap in the car. After all, she had been busy these days, and all kinds of things were waiting for her to deal with. It can be said that the holiday was more tiring than going to school. But Zikingai and Kaioshishi were sitting behind her, and her hearing became more acute after the mutation. So even if the two deliberately lowered their voices, she could still hear what they were saying. It seems that you are also deeply troubled. Chu Jian saw Wen Jiu frowning and came over with a gloating look. Do you want me to teach you some secrets? As long as you call me brother again. Hearing this, Wen Jiu was too lazy to pay attention. She turned directly towards the window and then silently found a pair of earplugs from the Ziji space. No secret is as good as her earplugs. Seeing this, Chu Jian could only click his tongue a few times and stop talking. When they returned to Wen Jiu restaurant, it was already past 5 o'clock. According to the usual time, it should have been open for business at this time, so there were many customers standing at the door waiting and watching. Wen Jiu isn't open yet, and there's no sign saying it's closed. Yeah, I sneaked in here before I got off work just to eat at Wen Jiu. Does anyone have the boss's Starnet account? Can you give her a call? I have a friend who has cancer and he wants to eat some hot food at Wen Jiu before he goes into the medical cabin. Wen Jiu and his friends were shocked by the scene of a circle of people as soon as they walked to the door of Wen Jiu restaurant. Everyone make way, the boss is back. Those waiting here are all regular guests who come to Wen Jiu restaurant for dinner. Some of them are residents of the commercial district, and some are tourists who come here specifically. In short, they come here so many times that they naturally hear those gossips. That is, the owner of Wen Jiu restaurant is actually a girl in her teens. When they first found out, they didn't believe it and thought it was a rumor that came out of thin air. But people are curious, and there are always people who take advantage of the time when they are loading the side dishes to look inside through the transparent glass outside the kitchen. Sure enough, there is a person who is just over 1.5 meters tall standing inside. There were a few times when Wen Jiu turned around to put the dishes on the table, and she was frightened by the customers who were leaning on the glass to watch. So for her own sake, and for everyone else's, she had to buy a piece of floral cloth to cover the glass, and also came out to confirm that she was a little girl, so that those curious customers would not keep asking. Sorry, I've kept you waiting for a long time. Wen Jiu apologized with a smile, and then quickly opened the door of Wen Jiu restaurant to let these impatient customers pour in. These customers were all skilled at sitting at tables, and no one would choose to occupy a table alone. After all, everyone present was an old customer, and they also knew that Wen Jiu restaurant had a small space and many people. Handsome boy, why don't you sell crayfish anymore? Zikingai, who had just tied on her apron and was ready to show off her skills when she heard the female customer at the table closest to her ask loudly. After he put on the mask, he replied, "Beautiful sister, the supplier of crayfish is out of stock, so we will remove the crayfish first, and we will put it on when it is available later." As soon as this was said, everyone in the hall stopped talking and looked at him. Such silence really scared him, and he couldn't help but lean towards Chu Jian, who was tying an apron. What? Crayfish are temporarily off the shelves and not for sale? Crayfish? Garlic crayfish? How can I live without you? I thought my heart was as cold as ice until I heard you say that crayfish was taken off the shelves. At that moment, my heart was beating wildly. Give me back my crayfish. Spicy crayfish is the eternal god. The guests all chattered and made a lot of noise. They couldn't accept the fact that crayfish was taken off the shelves. Wen Jiu was preparing to start working in the kitchen, but after hearing the noise outside, she came out of the kitchen and said loudly, "Be quiet, listen to me. The crayfish is off the shelf because it is out of stock. It will definitely be put back in stock later. You can open the electronic menu first. We have 2 new dishes here. The crayfish in Danghu Lake have been almost cleaned up, so Dengning naturally has no crayfish to sell." Although Wen Jiu went to the supermarket to buy some crayfish produced in other places, after taking them home and cooking, she felt that those crayfish could not compare with those in Danghu Lake. Those crayfish either have too strong mud smell or the meat is not firm and full. In short, they can't compare with the crayfish in Danghu Lake. Therefore, she made the decision to temporarily remove the crayfish from the shelves, but the menu of the store should indeed be replaced, so she removed the crayfish and replaced it with seaweed wontons and sour soup beef. After listening to her explanation, the customers quickly opened the electronic menu, and there were indeed 2 new dishes that they had never heard of. Today's first update has been delivered. Thank you little angels for your support, and love 030. Everyone can comment if you have any opinions, but I hope the tone is a little friendly. Let's communicate in a friendly way. ORZ. The little author is not someone who can't listen to opinions, but I hope that you can be a little more friendly when communicating. CAC. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405 Seaweed Wontons 2. Every year before the Spring Festival, Sanji Liu would close her shop and go out to travel, and she would not come back until the weather warmed up after the Spring Festival. However, she did not spend so much time traveling this year. She only went to other planets to spend the Spring Festival and stayed there for a few days, and then took the interstellar spaceship back to planet 3047. It was mainly because she was too greedy for the food at Wen Jiu restaurant. She felt that the food she ate when she went out to travel was hard to swallow, so she did not stay along this time and specially booked a flight to return earlier. Oh, Sanji came back so early this year. Sister Chen smiled meaningfully when she saw her. How was your trip this time? Did you meet any handsome guys? Sanji Liu is well maintained and still has her charm. There are many handsome guys who want to be with her, a beautiful and rich single rich woman. When she opens the store, there are always young handsome guys to chat with her, so Sister Chen teases her like this. However, Liu Sanji only replied listlessly, how can fresh meat be as delicious as crayfish? Wen Jiu restaurant can still bring me happiness. She put her luggage in the store and dragged Sister Chen to Wen Jiu restaurant. I thought Wen Jiu restaurant should have closed at this late hour, but I didn't expect that the lights in the store were still on and there were still a few scattered customers waiting at the door. I originally wanted to try my luck, but I didn't expect it to be open. Liu Sanji hurried to Kaioshishi and got a number. She and Sister Chen were both frequent visitors to Wen Jiu restaurant. They didn't need Kaioshishi to pour drinks for them, so they picked up the kettle and poured them into the paper cups. However, what was poured out this time was not sour plum soup, but a clear liquid with a slight fragrance. Seeing this, Liu Sanji couldn't help but pick up the paper cup curiously and took a look. This is our new drink, wolfberry and jujube water. Kaioshishi explained to the 2 aunts with a decent smile. They knew about wolfberry and jujube, but they had never used them to soak in water. But this was a drink produced by Wen Jiu restaurant, so Liu Sanji still took a sip from the paper cup. The warm wolfberry and jujube water had a hint of sweetness, and you had to savor it carefully to taste the faint sweetness. After drinking it, you would feel your body warmed up a lot. Well, I didn't expect that jujube and wolfberry soaked in water would taste so good. Sister Chen smacked her lips with satisfaction. It didn't feel cold in the daytime with the sun shining, but at night the temperature dropped and the breeze was gentle, which always made people feel cold and wanted to shiver. But now that she drank some warm drinks, she felt warm all of a sudden. Even her heart was warm. She had long felt that although the sour plum soup tasted good, she really couldn't drink too much because it was too cold, and she was thinking about going to Wen Jiu to give her advice when she had time. Unexpectedly, before she said anything, she had this wolfberry and juju water to warm her body. So Sister Chen drank 2 cups of wolfberry and red date water. When she was about to pour the 3rd cup, she heard Kao Shishi calling their number. Why is there no crayfish? Sister Liusen was looking at the menu carefully. Are these seaweed wontons and sour soup beef delicious? There were no customers in the store at this time, so Zikingayu had time to answer her questions. Crayfish has been temporarily removed from the shelves because it is out of stock recently. It will be put back on the shelves as soon as it is available. This seaweed wonton is suitable for people with light taste, and the sour soup beef tastes especially good with rice. Hearing this, Sister Liusen directly ordered a sour soup beef, and Sister Chen ordered a bowl of seaweed wontons. Wen Jiu's speed of serving dishes is not to be underestimated. After all, he has practiced in the cafeteria for so long. The two were still chatting here when they saw Chu Jian coming with a tray. Your sour soup beef and free rice. He placed the sour soup beef set meal in front of Liu. You can go to the counter over there to get more after you finish the rice. Just as he was carefully arranging the dishes, Sister Chen glanced at him unconsciously. Chu Jian had already noticed the other party's gaze, and he just kept a gentle smile and continued. Here are your seaweed wontons. If you want spicy food, you can go to the counter to add chili oil. After saying that, he put away the tray, as if nothing had happened, and turned around to do other things. But this was just the appearance on the surface. In fact, he was still paying attention to the movements of Sister Chen, and listening to their conversation with his keen hearing. Did you see that tall and handsome guy? I heard that he is Zhao Jiu's distant relative who came here to live with her. He seems to be single. Maybe he can be a couple with the girl from the Wang family. Oh, why are you so gossipy every day? That guy is obviously not of legal marriage age. Why are you so anxious to introduce him to a date? I'm just worried about the girl from the Wang family. Well, forget it. Let's eat. Hearing this, Chu Jian was slightly relieved. It was okay that he was forced by Wen Jiu to dye his hair black, but he also had to put on makeup and wear eyeshadow every day. It would be strange if he could still be recognized. He still remembered that when Sister Chen came to eat before, she found that his hair color was different from that night at home, and she stared at him while eating in the store. It was not until the end of the business that Wen Jiu came out to help him out. He said that his hair color was originally black, and the previous color was made by spray. Sister Chen left with a skeptical expression. Although this explanation seems reasonable, if you look at the details carefully, you will soon find the flaws. But Sister Chen did not go into it, because there were so many people coming and going in the business district, and she had too much gossip to listen to and too much excitement to think about it. Third Sister Liu first adjusted the light screen panel, selected the filter, and took a lot of photos of the sour soup beef, and then picked up the chopsticks to eat. Third sister, why are you taking these photos too? When Sister Chen came to Wen Jiu restaurant to eat, she often saw young people taking photos before eating. But she really couldn't understand this behavior. She felt that eating should be eaten well. Why take so many photos? If the food gets cold, the deliciousness will be greatly reduced. Liu Sanji suppressed her greed and replied, you don't understand this, I'm just following the young people. Everyone likes to post their daily life and check in food on Xingbo, so of course I have to keep up with the trend. After that, she picked up a piece of rolled beef, and the golden soup was wrapped in her mouth by her tongue. The sour and spicy taste gave her a fierce impact instantly, but after the impact, the meaty aroma slowly dissipated on the tip of her tongue. This fierce yet soft taste made her excited, and she couldn't help but sigh how delicious this sour soup beef was. Today's second update has also been successfully delivered thanks to the little angels for their support again. 030. Chapter 406 Seaweed Wontons 3. While Liu Sanji was immersed in the impact of the sour soup and fat beef, Sister Chen had already swam 3 or 4 times in the ocean of freshness. The wonton filling made by Wen Jiu was made of 3 parts fat and 7 parts lean Gilu beast front leg meat, plus dried small shrimps. Moreover, she did not mince the meat filling directly with the machine, but chopped it with 2 kitchen knives alternately for a long time. The meat filling chopped by hand is more likely to produce glue, and it tastes much more tender and smooth than the machine crushed meat. When mixing the wonton filling later, she did not add too much seasoning, but only added an appropriate amount of small shrimps and a little light soy sauce to stir first, and then added scallion and ginger water to stir the meat filling continuously to absorb all the scallion and ginger water. The dough for the wontons was also rolled out by Wen Jiu herself. It must be said that, since she traveled to the Interstellar, she has not experienced too much high-tech progress, but instead has a feeling of returning to the primitive. Sometimes she is confused by everyone's cooking skills. Why are there so many seasonings and ingredients, but most of them can't make delicious food? She asked a lot of people about this, but the answer she got was that before eating the food she cooked, they really didn't realize that they were eating dark food. Because everyone eats like this, no one will make changes. They think the taste of the food is like this. In addition, there is the existence of nutrient solution. If you don't like to eat, you can just drink the nutrient solution, so there is no need to study the recipe to improve your cooking skills. In this way, Wen Jiu can understand. After all, people who don't like to eat can drink nutrient solution. As for people who love to eat, they have grown up eating such food since childhood. Before eating really delicious food, of course they will not think that they are eating dark food. This is also the reason why the seasonings in StarCraft are quite complete and the ingredients are rich and diverse to choose from, but there are dark dishes and ordinary meals everywhere. Another bowl of seaweed wontons. Sister Chen was not afraid of the heat. She finished a bowl of seaweed wontons in a short time and drank up the wonton soup. She really liked this fresh and fragrant taste. The meat fillings of those small wontons were both fresh and very beautiful, so she couldn't stop eating one by one. Zikingai was busy cleaning the table, so Chu Jian brought up the second bowl of seaweed wontons. But Sister Chen didn't have time to look at him this time. She was busy picking up a spoon and started to eat wontons. The wonton soup was clear and transparent, and there was seaweed floating in it. The small wontons were goldfish tail wontons specially made by Wen Jiu. The part wrapped with meat filling floated up after being soaked in the soup, and the goldfish-like tail stretched out and floated in the soup, looking lifelike like a goldfish swimming. Sister Chen scooped up a wonton and blew it gently. The thin and transparent wonton skin outlined the lines of the meat filling, and the bursts of fresh fragrance mixed with the fragrance of green onions tempted her to eat it without caring about the hot mouth. The meat filling was smooth and full of delicious soup, and the flexible and thin skin had a hint of sweetness, which set off the fresh fragrance to the extreme, making people feel addicted to it. By the end of the meal, her forehead was sweating, and her whole body was washed by the warm soup. The previous coldness had long been dispelled without a trace. Jiu, your cooking skills are really unique. Sister Chen wiped her mouth with satisfaction. It's a pity that I went out to buy at noon today, otherwise I would come to your place to eat seaweed wontons at noon. Because Sister Chen and Sister Liu were the last two customers, Wen Jiu took advantage of the time when she didn't have to cook to clean up with Zikingai and the others. At this moment, she was cleaning the side dishes on the counter and smiled and responded, "Aunt Chen, I'm glad you like it, but this new dish is only served tonight. If you come at noon, you won't be able to eat it." Sister Liu Sanji just put the last mouthful of rice into her mouth. She not only ate up the beef and side dishes of the sour soup beef, but also poured the free rice into the sour soup and mixed it with it. Every bite can taste the plump rice grains, as well as the sour and fragrant appetizing soup with a hint of spicy. In short, she was very satisfied by the end of the meal. "Little girl, when can you come to my shop when you are free?" Liu Sanji leaned back in her chair after eating a little too much. "I'm Liu Sanji who runs the gem bracelet shop. Come to me when you are free, and I will give you a bracelet." She really loved the food at Wen Jiu restaurant, so she naturally had a good impression of the person who made such delicious food. Anyway, those gem bracelets were nothing to her. If she liked someone, she would give 4 or 5 bracelets, as long as the other person liked them. Hearing this, Wen Jiu pretended to refuse a few times, and then agreed under Liu Sanji's strong request. She had wanted to go to Liu Sanji to buy a gem bracelet for a long time, but she was traveling during this period, so she didn't buy a bracelet to give to Uruman as a gift. Now that Liu Sanji said so, she would of course take this opportunity to choose a beautiful bracelet. But she didn't want to give the bracelet to Uruman directly for free. She still wanted to buy it with her own money. Although Wen Jiu is a very stingy person, her stinginess has a bottom line and principles. She is rarely stingy with people close to her. So she chatted with Liu Sanji for a while, and then sent her and Sister Chen away. Jiuji, can't I really live with you? While Kyoshi went upstairs to clean up, Zikingai quickly approached Wen Jiu and asked. He originally felt that there was a difference between men and women, and he couldn't live with them. But now Chu Jiaran appeared out of thin air, and the other party lived in Wen Jiu's house with confidence, and he could eat a variety of different breakfasts every day, which really made him envious. However, Wen Jiu just looked at him coldly. Sure, how about you and Chu Jiaran live and sleep together? Forget it. When Zikingai thought about living with Chu Jiaran, he immediately reduced his idea of living and eating for free. So he could only finish his work quickly and then left Wen Ji restaurant first to go home. After he left, Wen Jiu went to the second floor to put on a thin coat. The main reason is that the weather is gradually warming up. It is always warm during the day and cold at night, so she put a few clothes on the second floor in case the temperature is too low at night for her to bear. She thought that, since she was already on the second floor, she might as well lock the windows and the door, so that she could go home directly. So Wen Jiu locked the windows of the living room and the master bedroom first, and then went to Chu Jiaran's former bedroom. If she wanted to lock the window, she had to lie down next to the other party's desk, and the words engraved on it came into her eyes again. Today's third update has also been successfully delivered. I haven't written about food for a long time. I wrote a little bit and hope you like it. ORZ. Chapter 407, The Identity of the Handsome Boy 1. XX told me that I can make a wish to God. I think this is really stupid. If making a wish can completely escape, then I'm willing to sacrifice my soul. When Jiu touched the scratches on the wooden table with her hands, she still remembered Chu Jiaran's disdain when Grandma Zhao mentioned the word God, but the other party was desperate enough to believe in God and make a wish to God. What made Chu Jiaran so desperate? Was it the gene fusion experiment? And what is this XX that was crossed out? It was scratched several times with a knife, and it was difficult to see its original appearance. No one can save me. This should be the last sentence Chu Jiaran carved on the wooden table. The scratches on this sentence are deeper and messier than those on other words. It is not difficult to see how desperate and panicked he was at the time. Why did you sneak into my room? When Jiu was thinking seriously when she heard Chu Jiaran's voice coming from behind. She turned around and said nonchalantly, "Close the window. Why don't you close the window after taking a nap every day?" Hearing this, Chu Jiaran was silent for a few seconds before saying, "Just for ventilation." He did not ask Wen Jiu if he saw the scratches on the wooden table, and the other party did not ask him about the scratches. The two of them remained silent, closed the windows, and locked the door, as if the scratches that carried the pain did not exist, and walked down the stairs leading to the first floor hall one after another. Jiu, I have almost cleaned up downstairs. Kyoshi took off her apron. We can go home. When Jiu responded with a smile, and then looked at Chu Jiaran, who was silent behind him. Although Chu Jiaran is still unwilling to reveal more information. In fact, if you put yourself in his shoes, not everyone can face the suffering they have experienced calmly, and it is normal for him not to want to recall it. So when Jiu sighed and walked over, she stretched out her hand and said to Chu Jiaran, "Let's go home." Her voice was very soft, like a clear spring in the forest. Chu Jiaran looked at her in surprise, then lowered his head without saying anything, and just walked forward 2 steps silently to hold her hand. The other person's hand was small and soft, and there was a little warmth when touching, which made his heart soften for a moment. Chu Jiaran, do you want to see your grandfather? When Jiu held Chu Jiaran with his left hand and Kyoshi with his right hand, and the three of them slowly walked towards the exit of the scenic area. She could feel that her left hand tightened for a moment after her voice fell. It seems that Chu Jian is not really without feelings, and he still cares about Leo Chu in his heart. What she did in the store just now was, on the one hand, to test Chu Jian's attitude, and on the other hand, she was somewhat touched. After all, the other party and herself were both experimental subjects. Although she did not find any memory about the experiment from Chu Jian's performance, she could still guess how painful the gene fusion experiment was. If she had to describe her mood, it was probably a kind of sympathy between the same kind. Kyoshi knew about Leo Chu's situation. When Wen Jiu was not available to go to the hospital before, she would help to visit Leo Chu in the hospital. Therefore, there was no need to avoid these things. I don't want to. Chu Jian's tone was a little cold. He avoided Wen Jiu's gaze and walked faster, which made Wen Jiu hold his hand tightly and asked him to walk slower, to take care of the children. The topic about Leo Chu was forced to end. After the three of them took the floating bus home, they did not talk about Leo Chu anymore. They just did their own things. Kyoshi immediately turned on the light screen panel when she got home, and then she couldn't wait to follow Zhuang Ruda's new drama. She is now a fan of her appearance and a die-hard fan. She has to follow the drama every day and browse the relevant information on Xingbo. Because Chu Jian could not use the wisdom ring, Wen Jiu bought a lot of cheap second-hand paper books for him to read in his spare time. He and Kyoshi sat at each end of the sofa, and both of them deliberately kept a certain distance, and no one disturbed each other. You two are so polite to leave me such a large space. Wen Jiu had just returned to her room and changed into a furry pajamas. When she came out, she saw that the middle of the sofa was still empty. It's reserved for you. Chu Jian flipped through the books in her hand. And can you buy a few more second-hand books? I bought 2 boxes of books, but they are not enough for you to read. Wen Jiu walked to the middle of the sofa and sat down, then opened the light screen panel to reply to the message. Chu Jian almost rolled his eyes when he heard this. He closed the book in his hand and moved closer to Wen Jiu, gritting his teeth and saying, "Look for yourself what kind of books these are. The cold president's favorite, the cold academic god was pushed down by me, and the sweet mommy took Sanbeo to escape from marriage. Can you find some books that suit me? Can you respect my taste in reading?" Wen Jiu didn't even turn his head, just sighed and answered him. "I also want to respect your taste in reading, but the books you want to read are too expensive. These second-hand books of romance novels are discounted when they are wholesaled. Look at how many star coins we make in a day's business, and you want to buy those expensive books. Respect me, I really don't have that much money to squander for you." For some reason, Chu Jian felt a little embarrassed when he heard these words. He felt like a spendthrift. So he sat back silently and continued to read the book The Little Wife of the Paranoid President Runs Away with the Bull in His Hand. Wen Jiu first checked the sales report sent by Ziziu, and then replied to Ming Yehan about the situation of the snowflake crisps. After the factory changed the formula, the taste of the remade snowflake crisps was normal, and it was exactly the same as the ones she made by herself, both in taste and texture. Ming Yehan was very satisfied with this. Not only did he transfer her the 400,000 star coins that had been agreed upon before, he also transferred an extra 200,000 to support her in setting up a shelter. The extra 200,000 he transferred was given in the name of a charitable donation, so Wen Jiu did not transfer the money back. After replying to all the messages that had to be replied to, Wen Jiu found Zhang Zhuangxi in his friend list. She had been curious about the cotton doll for a long time, and now she finally had the opportunity to ask about it. 9. Big brother, the owner, I'm sorry to bother you so late. She still had to be polite. After Zhang Zhuangxi replied to her, she carefully worded the message before sending it. She did not directly ask Zhang Zhuangxi if he knew the handsome boy, but said that the cotton doll looked very much like her former friend. Donghu doll shop. Zhang, your friend must be very handsome, right? That black-haired doll is actually a lifelike person, but I don't have a photo of the real person. Donghu doll shop. Zhang, if you want, you can send me a photo of your friend. When I have time, I can make another one, based on his appearance. The first update of today has been successfully delivered. Thank you for the support of every little angel 030. PS. I have a strong desire to explain that the book titles mentioned in this chapter are all made up by me, and they do not imply any author or any book. If these book titles really exist, it is really a coincidence. ORZ. Chapter 408, The Identity of the Handsome Boy 2. Wen Jiu asked Zhang Zuangshi in a roundabout way for a long time, and then she learned that the black-haired doll actually had a prototype. It's just that the other party didn't keep a photo of the prototype, so she couldn't know whether the prototype was a handsome boy. Just when she was thinking about how to continue asking, Zhang Zuangshi brought the answer to her. Dung Hu doll shop. Zhang, it's not that I don't want to tell you, it's mainly because the identity of the prototype is too noble. I'm afraid that other people will report me after knowing it. Dung Hu doll shop. Zhang, voice message 1 minute and 58 seconds. Dung Hu doll shop. Zhang, listen quickly, I will withdraw it after you listen. Because the use of the wisdom ring consumes mental energy, all sounds are defaulted to reach the user's brain directly. If there is no special choice of external speaker, you should know the head of our federation, right? He has 2 outstanding sons. The older one is now a general in the 1st military region, and the younger one is kept secret by the federation, and his name has not even been revealed until now. Then 2 years ago, someone secretly took a photo of the younger son and uploaded it to Xingbo. Although the photo was a little blurry, you can still see how outstanding he looks. I took a look at it at the time, and was stunned by his face. Unfortunately, the Xingbo post was deleted before I had time to save the photo. This incident caused quite a stir on Xingbo at the time, and many photos that were saved were later forcibly deleted by the system. The more Wen Jiu listened to the voice message sent by Zhang Zuangshi, the more she felt that the younger son was the handsome boy. Because every citizen knows that the name of the head of the federation is Lu Wenhu. She had heard the customer call the handsome boy brother Lu before, so she thought that this surname was at least not a lie to her. It's just that she never thought about the direction of head Lu. After all, the surname Lu is not a particularly rare surname. Unexpectedly, the handsome boy is not only the father and son of head Lu, but also a mysterious existence whose information has been hidden by the Federation. So the question is, why would the handsome boy use his real image in the Star Network world? If even his photo and name are not allowed to be leaked, then he should use a virtual image in the Star Network world. When I was drawing the draft of the doll that day, I suddenly remembered the photo I saw at that time, and unconsciously drew his doll draft, and then I thought that, since I had already drawn it, I would make a doll to try it out. You know the rest, so don't tell anyone. If you don't like the doll, you can return it to me, and I will make another one for you later. When Jiu just finished listening to this voice message, and saw Zhang Zuang, she chose to withdraw the message. But it didn't matter if the other party withdrew it. Anyway, she had already listened to the voice message and knew everything she wanted to know. Family wealth 9. Don't worry, brother Zhang, I'm very tight-lipped. Then she exchanged a few polite words with Zhang Zuangshi, and after promising that she would not say anything nonsense, the other party said that he was going to rest and didn't talk about it for the time being. When Jiu closed the chat box between her and Zhang Zuangshi, she wanted to ask the customer again, but he was offline and hadn't replied to her previous message. She didn't have anything else to do, so she closed her eyes and connected to the Star Network world. Is it him? I think so. He looks the same as in the picture. When Jiu was surrounded by a group of people, as soon as she entered the Star Network world, she couldn't help but be stunned by the scene. She set the location of going online at the Starlight Night Market, so she always appeared here. In addition, the management department of the Starlight Night Market has a special instrument for recording locations. Those who set the location of going online here will have background records. The staff only need to check the records to obtain the coordinates. Mr. Sun, we finally waited for you to go online. Lin Qihai pushed through the crowd and squeezed in. She walked in front of Wen Jiu and bowed slightly. She had been ordered to wait at this coordinate for several days, and finally waited for Sun Badao to log into the Star Network world. Come, please come this way. She quickly made a gesture, and then led the other party to the direction of the management department with a very respectful attitude. Although Wen Jiu didn't know what happened, she still cooperated with Lin Qihai with a polite smile. Those who had surrounded her before were now all following her, which made her a little confused. Could someone cause trouble for her again? She walked into the hall of the management department with doubts and saw that it was full of red banners and many bright flower baskets. Congratulations to Mr. Sunbadeo for winning the most popular stall owner award. After Lin Qihai said this, she stepped aside. The staff who were originally working seriously all took out small salutes and fired them at her. Many ribbons fell with the sound of bangs. Wen Jiu thought she had won the jackpot. However, it turned out that she really won the jackpot. In addition to the most popular stall owner award awarded by the Starlight Night Market, there was also an enthusiastic Star Network World Resident Award given by the Federation. She didn't find the previous award strange. After all, when she came last time, the staff said that many customers who patronized her stall voted for her, and many wanted to give her banners and flowers. So she thought it was normal for her to win the award, but she didn't know if there was any prize money to be claimed. But the enthusiastic Star Network World Resident Award that followed really confused her, and this award was specially awarded by the federal headquarters, and she didn't think she could be that popular. Mr. Sun, this is a great happy event. There was a middle-aged man in a suit next to Lin Qihai, and his face was filled with a happy smile. I don't know what he was happy about, but Wen Jiu still smiled politely and said, "Thank you everyone. Thank you for every customer support." She made a few simple polite remarks, and then winked at the middle-aged man. The other party was a little confused at first, but soon reacted and said loudly, "Come on, let's fire another salute to Mr. Sunday." Wen Jiu thought she might be stupid to think that the middle-aged man could read her eyes. So she accepted the baptism of the fluttering ribbons again, and was surrounded by various strangers to congratulate her, and then she entered the office with the middle-aged man under the leadership of Lin Qihai. "I have long admired Mr. Sun." Tang Sigwen clasped his hands towards Wen Jiu. "I'm finally able to meet you. You have no idea how anxiously I have been waiting for you." Wen Jiu sat down on the chair before speaking. "Mr. Tang, you are too polite. I wonder what Mr. Tang wants to talk to me about." Seeing that she was not as bad-tempered as rumored, Tang Sigwen breathed a sigh of relief and told her the story. Today's second update is also delivered. Thanks again to the little angels for their support. Thank you everyone. 030. Chapter 409. Almost got in one. Some time ago, the quarrel between Wen Jiu and Liu Daoba had somehow reached the ears of those customers. This made them all start to stand up for Wen Jiu, or more precisely, for Sunbadeo. Not only did they vote for Sunbadeo in the selection of the most popular stall owner award, but many customers who had bought talismans also spontaneously sent these banners and flower baskets. After all, the Star Network world is a virtual world, and the flowers here are naturally real and fake. The virtual flower baskets sent by those people will never wither, so they have not withered after being left for such a long time. Originally, this matter was quieted down after a while in the Starlight Night Market, because after a meeting, the management department agreed to include people like Sunbadeo who do metaphysical business in the selection list. So those customers who voted crazily for him did not complain or say anything bad. But the strange thing is that last week, the Federation suddenly sent someone to find the person in charge of the Starlight Night Market, saying that they would award the Star Network World Resident Award to Sunbadeo. And they also asked them to notify Sunbadeo to go to the Federation headquarters in the Star Network world to receive the award after they found him. "Well, we originally wanted to look for you quietly, but I don't know which bastard or which nosy person spread the news that you won the award." Tang Sigwen was talking excitedly when he heard Lin Qihai cough and reminded him, and then he changed his wording slightly. "Then many customers and stall owners knew about it, and they all voted for you in order to see your style. After all, it's rare for the Federation to give awards to people, and everyone just wants to have fun and watch the excitement." Although his words were very straightforward, Wen Jiu was not offended. After all, if it were her, she would also want to see this kind of excitement. It's just that she couldn't think of the reason why the Federation headquarters gave her an award, and the person who came to give the award also asked her to go to the Federation headquarters to receive the award. She felt that this matter was very strange. Lin Qihai took out a golden trophy and a rolled up red commendation banner from the cabinet. She handed them to Wen Jiu and said, "This is one of the trophies and rewards for the most popular stall owner award, but these are virtual products that cannot be brought back to the real world. Then we have other rewards for you. According to the rules, your stall will be rent-free for 1 year, but you don't have a stall now and can't redeem this reward. Do you want to exchange it for star coins according to the rental price or reselect a stall?" Hearing this, Wen Jiu thought for a moment before answering. "I can't go online to set up a stall every day. It would be a loss to change to a fixed stall for rent-free for 1 year. Can you exchange it for stall time like this?" She thought that she couldn't go online to set up a stall every day. In fact, she didn't need star coins now, and the rent for stalls in the Starlight night market was not high. It would be better to see if she could exchange it for stall time. For example, if she went online to set up a stall today, it would consume 1 day, but if she didn't come to set up a stall the next day, it would not be counted. After she finished speaking her thoughts, Tang Sigwon glanced at Lin Qi subconsciously and then quickly said, "Your idea is very good, but we have to have a meeting to discuss it. How about we talk about going to the federal headquarters first? As for the time to set up the stall, let's wait for our management department to have a meeting and let Xiaolin tell you the result directly." Wen Jiu nodded slightly in agreement. She was also quite curious about going to the federal headquarters. She knew that the federal headquarters in the real world was on the Imperial Capital Star, but she didn't have the money or the idea to go there. Moreover, the identity review for entering the Imperial Capital Star was very strict. People like her who were once illegal residents probably couldn't get in. But she didn't expect that there was a federal headquarters in the Star Network world, who made her busy setting up stalls every time she came, and had no time to learn about other things. Tang Sigwon took out the identity token from his pocket. "This is the token left by the people sent by the Federation headquarters. You only need to wear it on your chest and select the coordinates, and you can be directly teleported to the location they set." He and Lin Qi could not accompany him. After all, the Federation headquarters, whether in reality or in the Star Network world, is not a place that can be set foot casually. "Okay, thank you." Wen Jiu first put the trophy and the silk banner into the virtual space, and then took the identity token. As soon as her fingers touched the identity token, she saw a faint white light appear on it. It seems that this token also has fingerprint recognition. The virtual images in the Star Network world are actually very realistic. Whether it is hair or skin, they can be adjusted. There are even unique fingerprints for each image. Therefore, it is difficult for ordinary people to distinguish between virtual images and real images. In other words, people with extremely strong vision like Wen Jiu can distinguish between virtual and real through perception. "Then I will not delay Mr. Sun from receiving the award." Tang Sigwon stood up and made a gesture of invitation. "Mr. Sun, you can leave this way." He and Lin Qi watched Wen Jiu leave the management department, and then the two began to whisper. "Sister Lin, isn't it a bad idea for us to do this? What do you know? The federal headquarters has specified the person. Do you dare to say no?" "You are right, but Mr. Sun will never come back after this trip." The two looked at Wen Jiu's back and couldn't help but sigh at the same time. However, Wen Jiu just wore the token on her chest without activating it. She walked and strolled for a long time until she walked into a narrow alley, and then she took the token off. This identity token is very expensive at first glance. It is made like a modern luxury brooch. It is not only engraved with exquisite hollow patterns, but also inlaid with several colorful gems. It's a pity that this is just a virtual product, otherwise she could exchange it for star coins. "Let me receive the award. I think they want me to go to jail." Wen Jiu talked to herself while playing with the token in her hand. She always felt that this matter was very strange. How could the federal headquarters notice her, a small vendor, and send someone to notify her that they would give her an award? And if they really wanted to give her an award, they could just leave the trophy and prize in the management department. Why did they let her go alone to receive the award? All these strange things seemed like they wanted to arrest her. But then again, if the people at the federal headquarters wanted to arrest her, they could check the background information to arrest her in reality. There was no need to make things so complicated. Anyway, no matter what, she would not activate the token and fall into the trap until she figured out the matter. So when Jiu put the identity token into the virtual space and then directly left the Star Network world and returned to reality. Today's third update has also been delivered. Dear little angels who are following the update, please go to bed early after reading it. 030. Chapter 410 Zuan Rudy and Snowflake Suwan. It seemed that it was not safe enough to set up a stall at the Starlight Night Market. When Jiu wondered whether she should set up a stall in another place. After all, Sun Badao's vest was quite interesting. She could also earn some star coins while practicing spells. However, she was not short of star coins now, and she would only sell the spells to those who really needed them. Sometimes she felt that she was quite contradictory. On the one hand, she was determined to become the richest man in the Federation and work hard to make money, and on the other hand, she was abiding by the bottom line and sticking to her true self. She would not violate the teachings of her master for the sake of making money, nor would she sell her conscience for the sake of making money. But everyone knows that it is difficult for good people to make money, but she does not want to become a bad person for the sake of making money, so she always falls into contradictions. But there is no point in thinking so much, and she has made money, even if she is not a bad person. Why are you staring at the light screen panel in a daze? When Jiu was immersed in his own world of thought, and was suddenly interrupted by Chu Jian who came over. Can you help me watch a holographic movie? TV series or variety shows are fine. I really can't stand this novel. The heroine was pregnant with quadruplets and ran away on the day of delivery, and then the hero chased her in a hovercraft and accidentally hit the hovercraft that the heroine was sitting in, and the 4 children flew out. I think this plot is already outrageous, but I didn't expect that after the 4 children flew out, they actually saw the hero and started shouting daddy, daddy, and then the heroine took out a sack and stuffed the 4 children in and continued to run away. Chu Jian kept complaining about how outrageous the plot of this romance novel was. He would rather watch soap operas or bloody movies than read novels with outrageous plots. When Jiu rarely refuted him, but only removed the privacy permissions of the light screen panel, and then opened the video website to look for variety shows. The main reason was that she had never watched the variety shows here, and she happened to have some free time now, so she could see them. Hey, Jiu, do you guys want to watch a variety show? Kyoshi got excited when she heard this. Xiaodi happened to be on a variety show recently. How about you guys watch it with me? Chu Jian didn't have any objection to this. As long as he didn't read romance novels, he would watch any variety show. When Jiu had even less objection. She wanted to watch the variety show and see Zuan Rude's current situation. After all, she was an acquaintance of hers. Seeing that neither of them had any objection, Kyoshi found the latest episode of the variety show. She just hadn't had time to watch this episode yet, but now she could watch it with Wen Jiu. Because there is a light screen panel that can be used for holographic projection, most people don't have a TV at home, and the living room only has enough white walls for projection. Xiaodi's makeup and hair in this episode are so beautiful. I have to go to Zingbo to save some pictures after I finish watching it. Kyoshi was the most enthusiastic among the 3 of them. Every time she sighed, Wen Jiu would agree with her, but Chu Jian was the only one who leaned on the sofa and remained silent. He couldn't watch this kind of variety show that was about playing simple games and chasing around, but at least it was better than the romance novel he had just read. Yeah, it's pretty good. When Jiu echoed Kyoshi while sliding the light screen panel in front of her. She took advantage of this moment to reply to the comments on Zingbo and commented on the fan assignments in the anchor's dynamics. The assignments that fans sent to her dynamics were all kinds of strange. In addition to the blue and purple egg fried rice, there were also various pastes and foods fried to charcoal black, and many of the foods were made by their inspiration. For example, the bowl of blue and purple egg fried rice was made by a fan who had never cooked before. He had an idea and replaced the water used to steam rice with blueberry juice. As a result, the steamed rice was both sticky and discolored, which was disgusting just by looking at it. But this fan was still very stubborn and used this kind of rice and mixed it with egg liquid to cook a portion of egg fried rice. Let me see. because when Jiu did not turn on the privacy protection function, Chu Jian saw the display on the panel at a glance. It would have been fine if she hadn't watched him, but once she saw him, she became excited. His laughter was louder than Kyoshishi's when she watched variety shows, and when Jiu slapped his arm. "What are you laughing at? You're not as good as him at cooking." She really couldn't stand Chu Jian's laughter, so she turned on the privacy protection function. Seeing that his source of happiness had disappeared, Chu Jian sat back in his original position in a sullen manner. Wen Jiu didn't bother to care about his mood, and Ming Yihan just happened to send a message at this time. "Ming, president of Wuiyao Food, by the way, Xiao Jiu. Generally speaking, a spokesperson is needed to boost sales when launching a new product. I'll send you some information here, and you can see which one you want to choose as a spokesperson, and we'll discuss it carefully." She clicked on the 3 pieces of information sent by the other party, but she didn't usually care about the entertainment industry, so she asked Kyoshishi to pause the variety show and help her see how these stars were doing. "This is a virtual idol who has been very popular recently." Kyoshishi looked at the information carefully. His debut song is very popular, and he was recently invited to be a guest on the author card name. "Wow, this is a new actor who just won an award. Jiu, your partner is really good at choosing people." Kyoshishi was still commenting calmly, but when she saw the third information, she instantly became emotional. "It's Xiaodi. It's our Xiaodi. Jiu, why don't you choose our Xiaodi? Xiaodi has very few commercial endorsements now." Hearing this, Wen Jiu carefully looked at Zuan Rudi's information. She didn't expect that she was also listed as one of the candidates' spokespersons. However, the selection of spokespersons is not something she can decide on. She still carefully compared the information of the 3 candidates. In general, Zuan Rudi is indeed a very suitable spokesperson. Although she does not have a famous representative work or awards, her popularity is really ridiculous. Moreover, she is now in the state of impacting the 2nd-tier actress, and she is in need of commercial endorsements that can prove her popularity. The most important thing is that her endorsement fee is cheaper than the other 2 candidates, which is what makes Wen Jiu most satisfied. Just choose Xiaodi, she is really great. And she has TV series and variety shows on air now, which can also help bring some popularity to your Zuhuasu. Kyoshishi did not deliberately say good things to promote the star she admired. She usually loves to gossip and often pays attention to the news in the star entertainment circle. If she must choose among these 3 candidates, Zuan Rudi is indeed the most suitable and cost-effective one. So after considering for a moment, Wen Jiu sent his choice to Ming Yihan. Today's first update has been delivered. Thank you all little angels for your support. 030. Chapter 411 Zuan Rudi and Snowflake Su 2. On the 19th floor of the Xingyu building, people were working in an orderly manner. "Sister Dai, we will fly directly to Oriman after we finish shooting the commercial song. We need you to attend a promotional event tomorrow. And your unsweetened coffee." Zhao Xiaohua placed the coffee she had just bought on the dressing table and quietly looked at the young girl in front of her with outstanding appearance. She was sitting with her eyes closed, allowing the makeup artist to add luster to her already outstanding appearance. Her oval face, which was the size of a palm, was only lightly covered with a layer of apricot blush, and her plump cherry lips were painted with red lip glaze, which was quite attractive. As the makeup artist finished her eye makeup, the girl with her eyes closed slowly opened her eyes. The slightly raised eyeliner brought out a sense of coolness, and the bags under her eyes were dotted with a few crystal rhinestones, which made her eyes bright and shining. Zuan Rudi looked at herself in the mirror with satisfaction. Since she entered the entertainment industry, she no longer needed to style herself. Every day, makeup artists and stylists came to help her dress up. This kind of life really made her, who loves beauty, feel comfortable. If she had to say what she was dissatisfied with, it was probably that being a star required shaping her personality. She herself was the type with a hot temper and a straightforward personality, but the company insisted that she go the route of a high cold queen, so she could only perform according to the company's personality. Got it, thank you. She took a sip of the coffee, and the rich bitterness spread on the tip of her tongue, which made her wake up most of her sleepiness. Zhuang Rudi was actually not used to the taste, but as a star, she needed to run around to catch up with the announcements, and her sleep time was seriously insufficient, so she could only rely on drinking coffee to refresh herself. She was invited by a clothing brand to shoot an advertising song, but in addition to her, the brand also invited 2 other female stars. The popularity and performance of the 3 of them were comparable, and they were called the 3 Lines and 3 Flowers by netizens. By the way, Sister Di, we are discussing a new endorsement here. Zhao Xiaohua moved the light curtain panel in front of her. It's a new product that a well-known food brand is going to promote. You should learn about it first. Sister Hang originally wanted to help you get this endorsement, but I didn't expect them to come to us on their own. Zhuang Rudi is now a well-known female star in the entertainment industry thanks to her debut work and her appearance in the Federal Spring Festival Gala. However, she debuted too recently and has no awards to support her, and the popularity of her debut work is far from enough. Therefore, she is classified as a 3rd-tier star in the entertainment industry. If she wants to squeeze into the 2nd-tier stars, she not only needs 1 or 2 well-known representative works, but also needs to endorse products to prove her popularity. Food? Let me take a look. Zhuang Rudi frowned and slid the light curtain panel. She wanted cosmetics or clothing endorsements more than food endorsements. However, most cosmetics or clothing brands look at the works and popularity of celebrities when hiring spokespersons. And she is now in a position where she has no works and cannot prove her popularity. After she saw the words Wuiao food, the dissatisfaction on her face was reduced because she had heard of this brand. It was a well-known and well-reputed brand. She murmured while browsing the information. New product, Snowflake Crisp. Is it the Snowflake Crisp I know? Sister Di, you actually know Snowflake Crisp. Zhao Xiaohua couldn't help but get excited. Could it be that her new boss was also a fan of Gong Zifake? She had known for a long time that Gong Zifake was looking for a partner for Snowflake Crisp, but she didn't expect that the other party would find Wuiao Food to cooperate with, and even threw the olive branch of spokesperson to Zhuang Rudi. At first, when she was transferred to work as an assistant to Zhuang Rudi, she felt a little wronged, because she was an old employee in the company after all, and the star she followed before was a popular young actor in the first line. She was suddenly transferred to work as an assistant to an unknown newcomer, so she was naturally uncomfortable and wronged. Fortunately, Zhuang Rudi's temper was much better than other stars, and she didn't like to put on any star airs, so it was quite pleasant to get along with her. So after a long time, she had no complaints, and had been working hard for the other party. Snowflake Crisp is a dessert that no one else can make, except Gong Zifake, so after hearing Zhuang Rudi's whisper, she couldn't help but blurt out her thoughts. Well, I know it, but I haven't eaten it. Zhuang Rudi just said that unconsciously. She was thinking about what to say to save her image when she saw Zhao Xiaohua coming over excitedly. The other party kept talking about how much she liked watching Gong Zifake's live broadcast, and said that if she had known that she was also a member of the Army of Money fans, she would have dragged her to watch the live broadcast and replays in her free time. In order to maintain her high cold queen image, she could only nod occasionally in response. Although Zhao Xiaohua is her personal assistant, in order to make money, she has to be a dedicated star and work hard to maintain her high cold queen image. Sister Di, do you think this endorsement is okay? If it is okay, I will reply to Sister Han. We are almost certain to get the endorsement of this Snowflake Crisp. Zhuang Rudi clenched her fists to control her emotions. She couldn't say that she wanted to be the spokesperson for the Snowflake Crisp, so that she could eat unlimited free Snowflake Crisps. Seeing that she didn't reply, Zhao Xiaohua asked nervously, Sister Di, are you dissatisfied? No, I'm satisfied. Zhuang Rudi took a deep breath. She was about to say something else when the person in charge of the advertising song came in to inform her that the filming could start. So she stood up and followed the staff to the shooting studio. As soon as she entered the set, she instantly entered the state. Others thought that she was born to be an actor and didn't need to prepare anything specially to get into the role quickly. However, only she knew that this was a skill she had acquired when she was cheating in the past. A smile appeared on Zuanrudi's delicate face, and she cooperated with the lighting technician in the test light, which made the staff secretly praise her for her dedication. In fact, these little things are nothing. She feels that, since she is earning this money, she must cooperate with everyone to complete the work. But in the eyes of other stars who like to play big names, her behavior is very pretentious. Why are you pretending? You want to set up a cold personality and pretend to be very friendly. Jin Yeon sat in a chair and watched all this with disdain. She was one of the 3 female stars invited to shoot the advertising song. She didn't like to waste her energy on those things of testing light and lens. Every time, she asked her assistant or staff to do it for her. In addition, she and Zuanrudi had similar roots, so she couldn't stand each other. She spoke loudly just now, which made many staff members look like eating melons. Zuanrudi naturally didn't like her, but thinking that she had to maintain her character, she pretended nothing happened and said, "Lighting teacher, I can try the light again, please." Her performance satisfied the other staff members, and Jin Yeon, who wanted to see her character collapse, couldn't help but purse her pink lips. However, they couldn't really fight, so Jin Yeon could only swallow her anger and wait for the filming. Today's second update has also been delivered by the little author thanks to the little angels again 030. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412 Cordyceps Mushroom Chicken Soup 1. It smells so good, Jiu Jiu. I want to drink it too. Kyoshi just finished watching the trailer of Zuanrudi's advertising song and smelled a fresh and fragrant rich aroma. Because the engineering team hired by Wangnan was still dismantling the scrapyard, when Jiu and Kyoshi discussed taking advantage of the free time in the afternoon to go to the 3047 hospital to visit Leo Chu. Chu Jian's wanted case has not been resolved, and now he has locked himself in the bedroom to sleep, which clearly shows that he does not want to go with them. As for Ziking Gyu, he was captured by his brother's people, saying that he would be taken to AOS Medical to make up for his pharmacy. Hearing this, Wen Jiu smiled and replied, while cutting green onions, "I'll serve you a bowl when it's ready, just so you can help me taste it." She remembered that Zhu Wangming had said that Leo Chu's health had improved a lot, so she thought about bringing some nourishing medicinal food to help the weak Leo Chu replenish his body. Although the hospital has specially customized nutrient solution to drink, the nourishment of medicinal food is more gentle than nutrient solution, and eating it occasionally is very good for the body. Therefore, she specially made cordyceps and mushroom stew chicken. Cordyceps has the effect of nourishing the kidney and lungs, stopping bleeding and reducing phlegm. It is paired with fresh and fragrant mushrooms and tender colorful chicken. The stewed chicken soup is not greasy and has a light fragrance. When Jiu estimated that the time was almost up, so he turned off the fire and moved the stew pot aside. "Be careful of the heat." She opened the lid of the pot and scooped out a bowl of chicken soup. A rich and mellow fragrance floated in the air, and there were a few mushrooms and snow white chicken hidden in the light yellow soup. Kyoshi took the bowl carefully, and the heat continued to rise with an attractive fragrance. She picked up the spoon and scooped up the soup and blew it. When she estimated that it was not hot, she slowly put it into her mouth. The hot soup baptized her lips and teeth, and the rich fragrance instantly bloomed in her taste buds. She felt a sense of shock, and an incredible look flashed across her eyes. The tea tree mushroom and flower mushroom are already full of freshness. After being cooked at high temperature, their deliciousness is successfully integrated with the freshness of chicken. Every sip of chicken soup can taste full of freshness. Moreover, flower mushrooms are the best among mushrooms. They taste thicker and more tender than ordinary mushrooms, which is very refreshing. Coupled with the tender and juicy chicken, Kyoshi quickly finished the chicken soup. After the freshness gradually dissipated on the tip of the tongue, the fragrance of cordyceps remained, which made her feel endless aftertaste. Woo 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 woo, how can there be such a delicious chicken soup? She smacked her lips with satisfaction. If this chicken soup was not specially stewed for Lao Chu, she would have wanted to continue to act like a spoiled child and beg Wen Jiu to give her another bowl. Wen Jiu was filling a thermos with chicken soup. As long as it tastes good, I'll make it for you later if you like. After filling the soup, she tightened the lid of the bucket, cleaned up the kitchen, and left Wen Jiu restaurant with Kyo. But just as she walked out of Wen Jiu restaurant, Chu Jian was lying on the windowsill on the second floor. Wen Jiu, thank you for your help. He seemed to have been thinking for a while before he shouted out his words. Wen Jiu turned around and replied as expected, no trouble, remember to pay me back as soon as possible. Chu Jian's heart tightened again after hearing this, so he didn't reply and closed the window. He was penniless to begin with, and his only property was now sublet to Wen Jiu by Old Chu. He didn't know when he would have to pay back the money, so it seemed that his plan had to be postponed. Wen Jiu didn't know what Chu Jian was thinking. After all, she didn't learn any mind reading skills. She just took Kyo on the floating bus to the hospital. When they arrived at the station, they went straight to the hospital to find Lao Chu's ward. Lao Chu felt that his mood had suddenly become clear since he met Wen Jiu. However, he didn't know that in addition to his improved mood, the amulet left by Wen Jiu also had an effect. He just thought that he had unilaterally recognized a granddaughter and thought about actively treating and recovering as soon as possible, so his health gradually improved. Grandpa Chu, this is the cordyceps mushroom chicken soup I specially stewed for you. Wen Jiu put the thermos on the bedside table. The effect of this thermos is very good. Even if it is left for a whole day, the food will not get cold. So she thought of bringing it here now, so that the nurse can pour it for Lao Chu to drink at night. Hearing this, Old Chu smiled and said, thank you for your hard work. Thank you and Shishi for always visiting me, an old man. After a period of treatment, his physical condition has improved a lot. His complexion is not as pale as before, and his voice is not as light as before. It's okay, Grandpa Chu. Wen Jiu pulled 2 chairs over and sat down with Kyo. I have something else to discuss with you this time. She has been thinking about moving the store these days. After all, Old Chu's health is getting better day by day, and it is impossible for him to stay in the hospital all the time. Although she paid the rent and did not have to return the store before the lease expired, she now has a new place to open a store, and Old Chu has nowhere else to go except that store. Therefore, she decided to move the store and return the store in the commercial district to Old Chu. Wen Jiu spoke her thoughts slowly, but she was interrupted by Old Chu before she finished speaking. You don't have to return the shop to me. Since I have already rented it out, there is no reason to take it back during the lease period. If you want to open a new shop, go ahead and open it. I, an old man, can help you run the old shop. You don't have to worry about me having nowhere to go. There is a nursing home in our Donghu district. I can move in by paying a few star coins. There are nurses to take care of me in the nursing home. Old Chu quickly rejected Wen Jiu's proposal to return the shop and said that he would never take back the shop in advance. He would rather live in a nursing home than take back the shop and live there. This gave Wen Jiu a headache. She had discussed the matter of moving the shop with others. Kyo and Zikingai had no objection to it, and Yu Ruman supported her decision unconditionally. Only Chu Jian didn't say anything, but she could see that the other party still hoped that Old Chu could have a place to go. But she didn't want to return the shop because of Chu Jian. It was mainly because she felt that it was pitiful for Old Chu to find a place to live at his age. Moreover, the rent of the shop offered by Zizio is much cheaper than that in the commercial district. It can be said that all these factors made her make such a choice. So she calmly persuaded Grandpa Chu. I took the initiative to return the shop. I can't manage 2 shops at the same time with my energy, and the location of the new shop is better than that in the commercial district. When Old Chu heard her say this, he was slightly relieved. Today's third update has also been successfully delivered. Little angels who follow the update should go to bed early after reading it. 030. Chapter 413 Cordyceps Mushroom Chicken Soup 2. Wen Jiu later visited Lao Chu several times and asked Yu Ruman to come over to help persuade him so that Lao Chu agreed to take back the store and refund the rent. If other people's holidays are for rest, then her holidays are for voluntary overtime. In addition to completing the business of Wen Jiu restaurant, she also had to keep in touch with Wang Nan to keep a close eye on the situation. The good news is that after Yu Rumen knew that she was going to set up a shelter center, she helped her find a few reliable adults to help and also contacted an engineering team with experience in setting up shelter centers. It only took 5 days to build a simple shelter center using the current high technology. Moreover, Yu Rumen helped her find connections and go through the process and set up a small charity foundation at a very fast speed. In this way, she can transfer the star coins she wants to donate directly to the account of the charity foundation. As for the holder of this account, it is naturally Wen Jiu himself. The main reason is that having a separate charity fund account will make it more convenient to transfer the account after the shelter center is established, so as not to confuse it with her personal account. During the days of waiting for the shelter center to be built, the snowflake crisps that Wen Jiu and Ming Yehan worked on also completed preparations for the market. After the factory had a new formula, the taste of the snowflake crisps was exactly the same as the ones she made by hand. Ming Yehan was worried that he could not grasp it well, so he sent the snowflake crisps produced by the factory to Wen Jiu for tasting. It was at this time that Wen Jiu learned that in addition to the express delivery she had sent before, there was also a remote delivery function without sending a parcel. This function is similar to the tasting function when she started live broadcasting. After the consignee chooses the delivery location, the scanner directly uses the function to scan the item for delivery. However, she has not figured out the principle of this function yet, and the delivery robot does not have the option of teleportation. Moreover, the scanning of the tasting function has many restrictions, and she cannot use this function to conduct experiments, so she can only suppress her curiosity and deal with the problem at hand. After tasting the snowflake crisps sent by Ming Yehan, she modified several details on the recipe and handed them over to the other party, and then carried out the factory production and delivery tasting for the 3rd time, and then determined the final version of the snowflake crisps. After deciding on the version of the snowflake crisps, she didn't have to worry about the rest, such as food quality inspection and packaging design. Ming Yehan also completed what he promised her before, which was to make a batch of free snowflake crisps in an expedited manner and distribute them to fans who had placed orders in the bigger store after simple packaging. This batch of snowflake crisps also printed a feedback auto code on the packaging so that fans can give feedback to Wuiao food after eating it, so that they can refer to the opinions and make modifications. At the same time, Wen Jiu also announced the news that he had reached a cooperation with Wuiao Food, which attracted many fans to say that they would set off electronic fireworks to celebrate. They could finally eat delicious food without rushing to taste it. Although it is said that only snowflake crisps have reached cooperation at present, they believe that as long as they wait long enough, they will always be able to wait for her and Wuiao Food to jointly launch other foods. In order to ensure that the cooperation between Wen Jiu and Wuiao Food can be carried out smoothly, many fans have filled in and submitted feedback seriously. However, most of them hope that the snowflake crisps can be sold as soon as possible. The practical opinions given are not many, but they are enough for Wuiao Food to adopt and improve. At this time, there were only 10 days left before Wen Jiu started school. She had to book and open the new store before school started, otherwise she would not have time to take care of the store after school started. Do you think this place is nice? I reserved it for you. Zizio had been busy with AOS pharmaceuticals in the past few days. Since this batch of low-level physical recovery potions went on sale, more and more people came to him to discuss cooperation, especially those suppliers who do export business. At first, when he asked people to take the potions over, those people were very disgusted. They said that the potions from low-level planets would lose money if they were sold, and no one was willing to accept AOS pharmaceuticals goods to sell. Therefore, he could only change his strategy and give this batch of potions to these people so that they could give a few to others when they were exporting goods. Unexpectedly, this batch of free low-level physical recovery potions successfully created their own market on other planets and Planet 3047 with their excellent efficacy. Seeing that more and more people came to sell medicines from AOS Pharmaceuticals, those suppliers who took advantage of the situation came to him with shameless faces, and some wanted to negotiate cooperation with him to obtain exclusive agency rights. In short, his cooperation with Wen Jiu was very successful this time, so the more he looked at each other, the more he liked him. And he thought to himself countless times that it would be great if Zikingayu and Wen Jiu were swapped. The place is good, but the customer flow of this mall is really not good. Wen Jiu looked at the empty shop in front of him. The space of this store is much larger than that of Liuqiu, and the location is quite good, right in the middle of the first floor of the mall. Customers will not pass by to compare prices, and there will be no lack of customers because of the remote location. It's just that the customer flow of this mall is really low. Wen Jiu usually comes here with Kaioshishi and others, and he can clearly feel that there are far fewer customers here than in the commercial district. It may be because there is nothing particularly attractive here, and the commercial district is in the East Lake Scenic area, so the customer flow is naturally much higher than here. She first scanned the interior of the store, and then continued, "Ziziu, why did you buy a mall with so few customers? You can directly transfer the money you don't want to my account." "I'm opening a store to make you happy." Ziziu secretly moved a few steps towards her. The main reason was that she didn't bring Zikingayu and Kaioshishi this afternoon. She left them at Wen Jiu restaurant to prepare the ingredients, and only brought Chujian, who was tall and thin with broad shoulders and waist. Ziziu kept a polite smile at first, but he couldn't help comparing his height with Chujian. However, he was 10 centimeters shorter than the other party, and he couldn't reach him, even if he put on a lot of height increasing pads. So later he didn't even bother to smile, and didn't even want to care whether Chujian kept up. It was as if he ignored the other party's existence and only focused on communicating with Wen Jiu. Chujian could naturally sense his deliberateness, so he said calmly, "Uncle, if you want Wen Jiu to open a store here, to bring in more customers, just say it directly. Why beat around the bush?" In terms of temper, he is not someone who can be easily provoked. It is only because Wen Jiu can rely on his status as a creditor and benefactor that he can suppress him at ordinary times. Hearing this, the corners of Ziziu's mouth, which had just been raised, stiffened instantly. Today's first update was successfully delivered. Thank you for the support of the Little Angels 030. In order to let everyone see how hard I tried not to copy and paste ORZ, and the plot is always moving, the mecha superpower battles that everyone wants to see will definitely be written, as well as metaphysics, drawing talismans, and alchemy, etc. There will be no useless settings. ORZ. Chapter 414, The Scent of Plum Blossoms 1. He didn't understand why the people around Wen Jiu were so sharp-tongued. Even his dumb brother, who was dumb in speech and stupid in appearance, had learned a set of irritating words after being around him for a long time. "Why don't you say anything, uncle?" Chujian strengthened his tone of address this time. "Did I hit your head? Sorry, I didn't mean it." As soon as he finished speaking, he heard Wen Jiu stop him and said, "Say less. Why do you talk so much every day?" Hearing this, Ziziu felt warm in his heart. He didn't expect Wen Jiu to speak for him, but this warmth soon dissipated. "If I make my partner angry, who should I ask for the remaining dividends? You? Okay, he is only worthy of being a partner who pays." Wen Jiu is quite satisfied with the location of this store, and the space in the hall and kitchen is large. At that time, the kitchen can be slightly modified to separate a warehouse for storing food. Although the store is empty and there is no decoration, the current engineering team will use certain high-tech, whether it is decorating the store or building the building. The speed is extremely fast. Therefore, she does not have to worry about the renovation time being delayed too long. As long as she finds a reliable engineering team and chooses a good renovation plan, it is estimated that the store renovation can be completed in just one day. Let's talk about the rent first. You said before that you would give me a discount. Wen Jiu estimated that this mall was losing money madly due to low customer flow, so Ziziu could easily complete the acquisition. Even Chujian could guess Ziziu's thoughts, so she naturally understood what the other party was thinking. It's nothing more than hoping that, after she opens a store here, she can bring up the mall's customer flow. The more customers spend, the more star coins they will spend, and then this loss-making mall can be revitalized. After all, they are just partners. How can there be so many sincere people? To put it bluntly, it is a win-win cooperation and mutual benefit. Ziziu raised the corners of her lips and smiled, then made a number 8 with her hands. If calculated according to the market price, the monthly rent of this store will be at least this much. Only 800 star coins? Uncle, you are so kind. Chu Jian had not forgotten what happened just now, and silently said something sarcastically. Before Ziziu could say anything, Wen Jiu quickly followed up. That's great. If it's 50% off, it's 400 star coins, right? How about I transfer you a year's rent first? At this time, she didn't care about the grudge between Ziziu and Chu Jian. She just wanted to get the store at the lowest price. What bad intentions could Jiu have? She was just a little girl. Ziziu came alone today, without an assistant or bodyguard. Suddenly, he was confronted by two people together, and he didn't know what to say for a moment. What do you mean by 800 star coins or 400 star coins? I mean the rent of this store, according to the market price, is at least 8,000 star coins. I mean if you want to rent it, I can give you 4,000 star coins a month. But if you want to rent it by the year, I can reduce the rent a little bit. After all, he had been in the business world before, so he quickly sorted out his thoughts and calmed down, and then quickly said what he wanted to say. This made Wen Jiu feel very sorry. Although Ziziu looked a little silly like Zikingayu, he was essentially a mature man who was not easy to fool. So she could only quickly estimate, if it's 4,000 star coins a month, my annual rent is 48,000. We are old acquaintances, why don't you round it off and calculate it as 40,000 star coins a year? After the words fell, Ziziu really widened his eyes and showed an expression of disbelief. But she didn't wait for the other party to speak before continuing to add, to be honest, your mall has very few customers. If I don't open a store here, it will be difficult for you to find other people to make it more profitable. That is to say, you must have me now, but I don't have to have you. Her words made Ziziu silent, because she was talking about the current facts. Little Wen Jiu, don't be so blunt. Ziziu couldn't help but sigh. This kid is really hard to fool. It seems that his silly brother is still the best. The good thing is that he is particularly easy to deceive, unlike Wen Jiu who is smart and clever and has his own code of conduct. He sighed for a moment before continuing. We can talk slowly about anything. What you said just now almost hurt my heart. It's hard to mend my heart after it's broken. But I have to say, your little trick successfully attracted me. Wen Jiu was quite speechless by these words. She couldn't help but say, Ziziu, you have enough oil for me to cook a dish. However, the other party didn't understand her words and even asked her what dish she was going to cook. Chu Jian was also speechless when he heard their conversation. He silently stepped back a few steps to get away. However, he was walking backwards and didn't see anyone passing by behind him, so he bumped into the man directly. Sorry, I didn't. After seeing the man's appearance clearly, he couldn't help but freeze in place. The other party had a head of black hair casually draped over his shoulders, and a face as clear as a lotus in clear water with a faint smile. However, such a smile did not make him feel happy, but only made him subconsciously alert and a trace of fear that was difficult to eliminate. Teacher Lulu? Wen Jiu had never taken Lu Zuiying's class. Her fighting teacher had always been Yu Rumen. But she had seen Lu Zuiying in the academy and knew that she was one of the teachers of the fighting class. Student Wen? What a coincidence. Lu Zuiying was very friendly when she smiled, so many students preferred her fighting class to the beautiful and difficult to approach Yu Rumen. It was just that Wen Jiu preferred Yu Rumen. She had never thought of changing teachers. Her class schedule had always been filled with Yu Rumen as the main teacher. But since they met here, as a student, she still had to greet the teacher. So she smiled and responded to the other party. Good afternoon, Teacher Lu. My friend and I came to the mall to have a look. After all, they were not very familiar with each other, so she didn't need to explain what she was doing here. That's a coincidence. I made an appointment with Teacher Sun to have afternoon tea here. Lu Zuang always had a faint smile. She wore a beige long skirt with a lotus pink sweater, looking both gentle and feminine. When she smiled, her eyebrows and eyes curved, which made people feel good about her unconsciously. However, no one present only looked at appearance. Chu Jian stepped aside and lowered his head in silence after she appeared. As for Ziziu, he only smiled politely in response and did not step forward to interrupt. He even stood beside Chu Jian and pretended to watch the show. Today's second update is also perfectly delivered. Thank you again for the support of the Little Angels 030. Chapter 415, The Scent of Plum Blossoms 2. Since you are with your friends, I won't bother you anymore. After Lu Zuang and Wen Jiu chatted politely for a few words, they waved and turned away. After all, they had only met a few times and were not familiar enough to go shopping together. After Lu Zuang left, Ziziu spoke in an ambiguous tone. That lady doesn't look like a good person. She looks like a little white lotus. She is not as interesting as the red rose in your college. This aroused Wen Jiu's interest. She first glanced at Chu Jian and then asked, let's not talk about who the red rose is. What do you think of Teacher Lu? Didn't I tell you? Why are you asking? Ziziu looked at her in confusion. I have the ability to recognize people. I don't think she is a good person. It must be said that the two brothers of the Z family have too many similarities. Even this little tsundere is exactly the same. But he didn't mean to perfunctorily say this to Wen Jiu. He really knows how to recognize people by intuition. Wen Jiu was too lazy to ask any more questions. She patted Chu Jian's back gently as a signal for him to calm down as soon as possible. Since Lu Zuang appeared, Chu Jian has entered a state of uncontrollable excitement. He exudes an aura of keep away from strangers. If he hadn't recovered well with Wen Jiu during this period, and if Wen Jiu would make him angry from time to time, he would have lost control and run away on the spot. Before this, Chu Jian never thought that he would want to thank Wen Jiu for making him angry from time to time so that he could learn to control his temper. In fact, he had never met Lu Zuang, but her smile made him feel familiar, but this feeling made him very uncomfortable. Are you feeling better? Wen Jiu was still concerned about Chu Jian's situation. After all, she picked him up and raised him. Let's not talk about other things. The money has not been paid back yet. It's okay. Chu Jian pinched his eyebrows with his hands. His emotions had calmed down a lot at this time. Seeing this, Ziziu couldn't help but take the opportunity to mock. Young man, you are young and lack self-control. You get easily excited when you see a beautiful woman. Mature men like me are the most reliable. However, the person being mocked was in no mood to pay attention to him now and just glanced at him with a cold look. What's this smell? Wen Jiu smelled a faint fragrance which smelled like plum blossoms, making people feel happy. Hearing this, Ziziu sniffed. It's just an ordinary plum blossom fragrance. It should be left by the lady just now. I'm afraid she sprayed too much perfume when she went out. It must be said that, although this smell smells a bit monotonous, it is hard to extricate yourself after a careful sniff. Wen Jiu always felt that Chu Jian's behavior was a bit abnormal, and the faint plum blossom fragrance lingering in the air made her feel inexplicably alarmed. It's just that Lu Zuang had already gone far away, and she couldn't rush to the other party to ask anything. So she pulled up Chu Jian's wide sleeves and ran straight to the main entrance of the mall. The air there circulates faster, and there will be no more strange plum blossom fragrance. She suddenly pulled Chu Jian away, and Ziziu blurted out, wait for me, both of you. Don't you want to continue looking at the store? I want to see. How old are you? Do you still need me to pull you to go? Wen Jiu looked back at him with disdain, and then continued to drag Chu Jian to the main entrance. There were not many customers in the mall, and their movements here did not attract the attention of others. Only those who stood in the dark and watched quietly smiled at the scene. You reacted very quickly. You are worthy of being the first choice seedling. There was a different contempt in her words from the past, and only the approachable and friendly smile on her face could prove that she was still the familiar Lu Zuang. It was not until Wen Jiu and the other two disappeared from her sight that she slowly walked from the darkness into the light. Hello, Ranran. Well, I'll wait for you at the coffee shop on the 3rd floor. After Lu Zuiying hung up the call, she walked towards the elevator. Anyway, their deployment was almost completed, and there was no need to pay attention to the situation of the seedlings at any time. Therefore, she was in a particularly good mood, and the smile on her face was even brighter, attracting the passing men to look back frequently. Is the one in the white skirt your teacher? Zizio happened to glance at the elevator. The interior of the mall is arranged in a circular ring, with fewer winding roads, and the elevator is in the middle. If you don't deliberately avoid it, you can easily see the situation at the elevator from the door. And the elevator is transparent. People sitting inside can look out, and people outside can also see inside. It seems so. When Jiu half squinted and looked at the elevator, pink clothes and white skirt, it's her. As soon as she finished speaking, Lu Zuiying seemed to have sensed it, waved in their direction, and then slowly stepped into the elevator. For some reason, when Jiu felt a sense of alarm, her mental power value should not be low. Zizio is also a superpower, but his mental power is not strong enough, and his superpower level is not high enough, so he embarked on the road of focusing on business. But he is not lacking in the knowledge that superpowers should learn. After all, he is also a person who has returned from military school. Hearing this, Wen Jiu shook his head and replied, I don't know, I haven't had much contact with her. She was telling the truth. When she was in the academy, she rarely had contact with Lu Zuiying. Moreover, the other party was a new teacher who had just been transferred to the 3047 academy. Many students didn't know much about him. Even the gossipy Ziking guy who found it difficult to find out relevant information. It's okay. I'll use my connections to find out for you later. Zizio was the best at taking advantage of the situation. He quickly seized this opportunity to do a favor. I don't need you to give me anything in return. Just remember to send me the formula of the cold medicine. When Jiu laughed out loud when she heard this. She waved her hand and refused. There's no need to exchange the formula in this way. I still like our previous transaction method the best. Why did she need Zizio to help her find out? If she really wanted to know about Lu Zuiying, she could get the answer by looking for Yu Rumen or Zhu Wangming. After all, the other party didn't look like a good person. This was also her intuition. Chu Jian, are you awake now? She turned around and looked at Chu Jian, who was taking a breath. The other party had completely regained his calm at this time, but he was still silent and unwilling to speak. I have always been very sober, Chu Jian said suddenly. If there is nothing else, go back first. I have something to tell you. Today's third update has also been delivered by the little author. Please check it out. Little Angels. Recently, many little angels have started school, so I wish these little angels a smooth study and a happy school. LIFE=W=. Chapter 416 Seedling Plan 1. When Jiu originally planned to talk to Zizio before leaving, but seeing Chu Jian's determined eyes and determined to go back, she had to agree with Zizio to continue the detailed discussion on Star Network in the evening. After saying goodbye to Zizio, the two went to the supermarket to buy some ingredients, and then returned to Wen's restaurant in silence. The low pressure between them almost scared Ziking Gaiu. He thought that his brother had done something wrong again, and it was okay to make Wen Jiu unhappy, but he actually offended another evil spirit. Fortunately, when Jiu saw his panic and briefly explained what happened in the mall, which slightly calmed his frightened little heart. Then we won't go up, we will store the ingredients here. Kyoshi reacted quickly. After taking the bag, she grabbed Zikingayu's sweater hood and then walked quickly towards the small warehouse in the kitchen. After the two of them left, when Jiu followed Chu Jian upstairs. She had been guessing the relationship between him and LV Zuiying all the way. Could it be that LV Zuiying was someone who had participated in the gene fusion experiment? However, her guess was soon shattered because the first sentence Chu Jian said after closing the door was, I don't know her. You don't know her, so why are you reacting so strongly? When Jiu sat on the sofa with a serious face. This was the second time she saw Chu Jian about to lose control. Last time, it seemed that she said something wrong, which made the other party's face change instantly and almost go berserk. but this time she didn't say anything, so all the doubts were focused on LV Zuiying. She gives me a familiar feeling, but I really don't know her. Chu Jian was a little depressed at the moment, but he still tried his best to express what he thought. Wen Jiu got up and poured him a cup of hot water. So what do you want to talk to me about? You don't know him, and you won't tell me. Are you trying to drive me crazy? She had wanted to complain about this question for a long time. Every time she wanted to take the opportunity to ask about the genetic experiment, Chu Jian either avoided the question or just evaded it, which made her want to find Zhu Wangming to learn more. I didn't hide it from you on purpose. Chu Jian took the cup inside. Since you have no memory of the experiment, it means that your brain has activated the self-protection mechanism and chose to forget because it was too painful. So I don't want you to recall it, so that you won't be able to bear this pain. Wen Jiu just thought his words were ridiculous. If he really thought so, why did he stay here? How could she not see Chu Jian's true thoughts? The other party had always wanted to test her ability in bottom line, as if he was looking for a partner to cooperate with. Once she stopped pursuing the truth of the gene fusion experiment, she believed that Chu Jian would leave without saying a word and would never be willing to stay here as a waiter. Chu Jian, do you believe what you said? Wen Jiu lazily leaned on the sofa. You should know that gaining sympathy and pretending to be a good person will not work with me, right? I will say it directly. I keep you here not because I pity you, but because I want to know the truth from you. If you can't bring me value, I will be cruel and drive you out. After she finished speaking, Chu Jian not only did not show an angry expression, but also put on an ambiguous smile. He casually brushed his hair up, and his eyebrows were filled with unruly evil charm, which was completely different from the gentleness he usually pretended to be. TSK, I thought you sympathized with me. There was a bit of self-mockery in his words. After all, we are the same kind. Wen Jiu ignored his self-mockery and said calmly, sympathy may be there, but it is more of a use. Hearing this, Chu Jian's smile deepened. To be honest, compared with that kind of hypocritical care, he prefers this kind of hurtful straightforwardness. After all, he had seen too many false cares. Wen Jiu actually sympathized with Chu Jian, but to put it bluntly, they were just two people who met by chance, and she was not a person with overflowing love. If Chu Jian was not of certain value, she would at most provide some clothes and food to help him escape, and would never take him in and take care of him. Well, then I have something to say. Chu Jian half closed his eyes lazily, as if recalling something. There is actually another possibility, that you have no memory of the experiment. That is, they deliberately erased your memory. They? Wen Jiu guessed that this was referring to the people who did the experiment. If memory can be erased by instruments, then why didn't Chu Jian's memory be erased by them? This kind of experiment that is not accepted by the world should be kept confidential. But now, in addition to Chu Jian who remembers the content of the experiment, even Zhu Wangming, who used to be an experimenter, still retains memories of the experiment. Well, but I'm just guessing. Chu Jian yawned a little sleepily. He didn't really want to talk about the experiment, but Wen Jiu was not an easy person to deal with. If he wanted to win him over to cooperate with his plan, he had to tell him some of what he knew. So he picked and chose some of the things in the past, letting Wen Jiu know roughly how he entered the academy and how he was chosen by those people to become an experimental subject. Chu Jian also entered the 3047 Academy when he was 12 years old. When he was detected to have dual system abilities, he was selected by the seedling master hidden in the dark. It's ridiculous, right? Those who are responsible for gathering intelligence and all those who are responsible for experiments are collectively called seedling masters. As for the gene fusion experiment, it was covered up by the name of the seedling plan. They divided the students into two categories, seeds and seedlings, but not everyone can be selected as seeds. Only those excellent students with higher values will be classified as seeds. After the students are classified as seeds by the seedling master in charge of seed selection, other seedling masters will record them and take away the seeds in the name of sending them to the base for secret training. Many students don't know the inside story of the secret training. They are only busy being excited about it. I used to be the same. Chu Jian said this with a helpless and sad smile. He felt that he was really stupid and naive before. He thought that after being selected, he would be able to enter the military academy as soon as possible to make his grandfather proud. But he didn't expect that what was waiting for him was hell on earth and endless pain. The base is responsible for cultivating the growth of seeds. Each of them will have his own number and will undergo strict and cruel training every day, striving to get rid of the title of seeds and become seedlings. Today's first update has been successfully delivered. Please check it. Little Angels 030. I have checked for typos. If there are any omissions, please comment. Thank you Little Angels for catching bugs. ORZ. Chapter 417 Seedling Plan 2. As we all know, seedlings are young plants in the early stages of growth after seeds germinate. All seeds that participate in secret training must go through several duels and assessments before they can be classified as seedlings by the seedling master. The training process is called germination. After germination, seedlings can obtain many rights, such as better clothing, food, and single rooms to live in. Seedlings with excellent performance can even contact the outside world, but they will be watched by the seedling master in charge throughout the process to prevent them from leaking the contents of the seedling plan. And these seedlings will be sent for inspection and exclusive nutrient solution every once in a while. After the inspection, they will make rapid progress, making it difficult for the seeds to catch up with them. In short, the treatment of seedlings will be much better than that of seeds. So people who are seeds will work hard to make themselves one of the seedlings as soon as possible. Those silly seeds are training desperately, thinking that the seedlings can only make rapid progress if they work as hard as they do. In fact, every seedling has been fed medicine by the seedling master. The medicine they take can help them upgrade their abilities faster, but the side effects are very severe. However, in addition to helping them upgrade their abilities, these medicines can also help seedling masters select good seedlings. Chu Jian recalled and whispered. Although he laughed at those silly seeds, he was also one of the little fools. He thought that, after he worked hard to enter the ranks of seedlings, he could rely on the identity of a seedling to get in touch with his grandfather. However, after becoming a seedling, he lived in pain and guilt every day. Countless tears have made him cold and ruthless now, and he only wants to find an opportunity to take revenge. After listening to his story, Wen Jiu asked seriously, "What do you mean when you said that those drugs can help seedling growers select good seedlings? How should I explain it?" Chu Jian rubbed his eyebrows. Seedlings that meet the requirements will not have any side effects after taking the drugs. It's just that there are very few seedlings that will not have side effects. Many seedlings have various psychological or physical problems because they can't bear the pain caused by the side effects. There are no side effects in the early stage of taking the drugs. At most, they will suffer from insomnia, anxiety, and headaches. But these are far less intense than the pain during training, so these minor side effects are often ignored by those seedlings. It was not until the side effects became more and more intense that they realized that they might not have much time left in their lives. The seedling growers would take this opportunity to talk to them one by one and roughly say that there is a place to treat their side effects. There are only a few seedlings who are willing to obey and take the initiative to go for treatment, because those who can stick to this place are not fools. So these seedling growers will send all these dying seedlings to the research institute in the name of their serious violation of discipline. What about the seedlings that will not have side effects? Will they continue to stay in the base for training, or will they also be sent for so-called treatment? Wen Jiu could actually roughly guess what would happen next after hearing this, but she felt that Chu Jian had already said it all, and it would be easier for her to analyze and understand if he finished the story. The treatment of the institute is actually a gene fusion experiment, and the previous selection of seeds and seedlings is to select suitable experimental subjects. These seedlings that will not have side effects are collectively called high-quality seedlings by the seedling breeders. As for those seedlings that have side effects, they are called low-quality seedlings by the seedling breeders. High-quality seedlings will receive individual training from the seedling breeders and will also be secretly sent to the institute by the seedling breeders. However, the selected high-quality seedlings will be placed under house arrest. After all, the number of high quality seedlings is very scarce, and the people in the institute are reluctant to easily lose them, so they use those low quality seedlings to conduct experiments first to increase their experience. After multiple experiments have come up with the most suitable plan, the high quality seedlings will be used to complete the final gene fusion. In short, no matter what, from the moment they stepped into the academy, they became seeds in the eyes of those people. Regardless of whether they have poor or good values, or single or dual abilities, they are all candidates for experimentation. As for the low quality seedlings that have been used in the experiment, most of them have mental problems, and many have even had their lives affected. There are very few high quality seedlings that can survive the experiment. It's good enough if one of the seedlings survives. After Chu Jian finished speaking, Wen Jiu finally came out of his heavy mood. She tried to ask in a calm tone, what about those who didn't survive? There are so many students being taken away. Won't their families come out to make a fuss? If they don't survive, they will be dealt with. I don't know how they will be dealt with. Chu Jian said everything he could say. And he really didn't know where those seedlings went, but he knew how they would be dealt with by those people. After all, the gene fusion experiment cannot be leaked. It's just that, before he met Wen Jiu, he had always guessed that the seedlings that failed the experiment would be wiped out, and he didn't think about erasing their memories. But now it seems that his previous guess is not accurate, because Wen Jiu's situation is like his memory has been erased. That's strange. Wen Jiu propped up his chin with his slender knuckles. According to what you said, the seeds were all selected from the students who entered the hospital. But I only entered the hospital last year. If I follow the process you said, I should be a normal person now. She felt that Chu Jian should not have lied to her, because the other party was indeed picked after entering the hospital. When she asked Zhu Wangming about it before, Zhu Wangming also mentioned this. This is very strange. She was obviously not chosen as an experimental subject, but she had a mutation that could only occur after being experimented on. Could it be that the original owner was taken away in childhood and became one of the failed experimental subjects? Before she could say anything, Chu Jian took the initiative to say, I'm also wondering about this, but you can rest assured for the time being. At least when I was at the base and the research institute, I didn't see any little brats appear. Whether it is seeds or seedlings, they are at least 12 years old. Although he was reluctant to talk about genetic experiments before, since he decided to win over Wen Jiu as an accomplice, what he said was naturally the real situation. Wen Jiu was confused by this. If the experimental subjects were all over 12 years old, then what was her situation? Did she really undergo gene fusion? If she hadn't, how did her mutation come about? But Chu Jian couldn't answer these questions. He had never seen seeds or seedlings under 12 years old, because everyone was selected by the hidden nursery master after entering the academy. Today's second update has also been successfully delivered, thanks again to the little angels for their supporters. Chapter 418 Seedling Plan 3. Since Chu Jian had said everything, Wen Jiu didn't want him to explain anything else. And Chu Jian's explanation was quite detailed. At least he let her know the so-called seedling plan. It was the content of the experiment that the other party couldn't describe, because they would be injected with drugs before the experiment, so that the subjects would have no way of knowing the whole process of the experiment. So Wen Jiu planned to try to get Zhu Wangming to talk to him later, and see if he could get anything about the content of the experiment. I've told you so many secrets, you shouldn't want to drive me away anymore, right? Chu Jian smiled lazily. He didn't really mind wandering outside. It's not like he had never been homeless before. It's just that he didn't want to give up such a good partner, who was capable and smart, and was also a suspected experimental subject. It would be difficult for him to find such a suitable candidate again. Hearing this, Wen Jiu pretended to think for a moment before speaking. I won't chase you away for now, but you'd better tell me your real purpose as soon as possible. Otherwise I'll be in a bad mood one day and chase you away with a broom. How could she not see the ambition and hatred in Chu Jian's eyes? The other party must have a plan to stay here, but she didn't know what he wanted to do for the time being. Thank you for your kindness. Chujayan pretended to be indifferent and turned away. Then, kind lady, what are you going to do next? He thought Wen Jiu would continue to ask about the seedling plan, but the other party just stood up, patted his clothes, turned around and strode towards the door. Kind lady, are you just leaving like this? He asked again without giving up. Wen Jiu opened the door and turned to look at him. What else? Do you think I will say, let's go catch the nursery teachers and beat them up? Where did you come from, you 3-year-old kid? The sudden sarcasm made Chujayan stunned. He didn't know how to reply for a moment and could only watch the door slowly close. However, he didn't know that his reaction just now provided a lot of ideas for Wen Jiu's guess. Wen Jiu was originally guessing whether Chujayan needed her help, but she was not too sure to confirm this guess. But after seeing the other party's reaction just now, she basically confirmed this guess. But what did Chujayan want her to help with? Could it be to help him clear the charge of being a wanted criminal? This matter is very troublesome and difficult to solve. Anyway, with their current friendship, she can't do this for the other party. Jiu, have you finished talking with Brother Harry? Kyoshi was lying on the table in a daze. The ingredients in the kitchen were almost handled by her and Zikingayu, and the rest were some that Wen Jiu needed to do himself. Hearing this, Wen Jiu changed his previous heavy expression and replied in a relaxed tone, yes, you have worked hard to deal with the ingredients in the afternoon. How about I make you some delicious food later? Okay. Sister Jiu, I want to eat egg tarts. Zikingayu really likes the egg tarts she brought last time. There were only 4 left at that time, and he didn't have a good taste. Although Wen Jiu was still thinking about what Chujayan said, she still responded to Zikingayu with a smile and walked into the kitchen. She first simply processed the meat for dinner and then opened the light curtain panel to reply to the message. There are too many things she needs to solve recently, and she has to check the message list several times a day. But no matter how many times she refreshes the message list, she still can't receive any news about the handsome boy. And the customer who knew the handsome boy seemed to have evaporated from the face of the earth and had not logged into the Star Network for many days. Every day when she checked the other party's status, it showed offline. If she hadn't known that the online and offline status of the Star Network could not be set, she would have almost thought that she was being cheated by the two of them. There was no rush to find the handsome boy, and Wen Jiu had other things to do right now. After the news of her cooperation with Wuiao Food was released, many fans came to Zingbo to leave messages every day, hoping that she could launch more cooperative foods. In this way, those fans who couldn't get a taste of the food could hold other foods to satisfy their cravings. However, this was the first time she and Wuiao Food cooperated, and the official sale of the snowflake crisps was still in preparation. Future cooperation would depend on whether the launch of the snowflake crisps was successful. She had reported the issue of the number of tasting places to Lulu, but the scanning and transmission function of Bakaliv had usage restrictions, so a strict anchor level was set to limit the number of tasting places. But when Jiu's live broadcast room is becoming more and more popular now, especially after the snowflake crisps from the factory were sent out, many fans who received the snowflake crisps spontaneously wrote tasting reviews. They also posted these reviews with pictures on Zingbo, which caused a wave of discussion about snowflake crisps. She had already reached the standard of being promoted to a 3-star or even 4-star anchor, but the contract of a booker anchor is usually signed for 1 year, so if she wants to upgrade her star and re-sign the contract, she has to ask the editor to help her apply for a green channel. However, Bakaliv has also slightly changed some of the platform's rules during this period, such as changing the original editor title to person in charge. In addition, in order to prevent the person in charge from taking the anchor to jump to other platforms, each person in charge only drew lots to retain one anchor, and the remaining anchors were reassigned after being shuffled. Lulu made a crazy wish before the draw. She hoped that she could retain Gongzi Fake, and she didn't care about the other anchors. But fortunately, her luck was really good, and she successfully retained Gongzi Fake. Therefore, she paid more attention to Gongzi Fake's matter. Not only did she do her best to help the other party make videos, but she also took the initiative to go to the supervisor with the data that met the standards to apply for a re-rating. Bakalulu, fortune baby. The supervisor approved my application for a re-rating. I will send you a new contract in 2 days. Remember to ask your guardian to help sign. Wen Jiu actually wanted to re-rate the stars. After all, the higher the star rating of the anchor, the higher the points. Besides, Lulu directly helped her apply for the rating of a 4-star anchor this time, and she can get 60% of the share after re-signing the contract. And the problem of tasting quotas can also be improved, because in addition to the fixed 100 free tasting quotas, the 4-star anchor can also open 100 fan exclusive tasting quotas. These 100 fan exclusive tasting quotas can not only be opened in 3 rounds, but also require a certain fan value to participate in the competition. As for how much fan value needs to be reached, it is left to the anchor to decide, so that more fans can grab the tasting. Today's third update has also been successfully delivered. Angels who are following the update can go to bed early after reading 030. PS. Thank you to Angel Shine Heo-kun for your suggestions on the number of tasting places. Thank you to Angel Yao Zio Chaling Mao Xiang and Angel Uzizinu for your suggestions on the editor's title. Angels are welcome to make suggestions on the text settings or content. The author will adopt them as appropriate. If any suggestions are adopted, it will be stated in the preface which Angel proposed it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419 Dragon Beard Cake 1. After replying to Lulu's message, Wen Jiu continued to process the remaining ingredients. Time passed bit by bit, and it was time for the busy evening business again. 3 servings of egg fried rice for table 7 and 2 bowls of seaweed wontons for table 5. Wen Jiu kept busy in the kitchen, and her steps never stopped. Sometimes she grabbed the chopped green onions on the chopping board behind her and sprinkled them into the pot, and sometimes she picked up the beef prepared by the stove and put it into the soup. However, it was this busy scene that attracted many people who had never met to watch the live broadcast. Some of them were workers who had just got off work and were on their way home. Some were military academy students who were eating in the cafeteria, and there were federal gourmets who were watching and writing comments. Although they had different professions, different identities, and were on different planets, the powerful technology brought them together at this moment, and they could have a pleasant communication just by watching the live broadcast and sending barrages. I'm so hungry. Are you here to learn how to cook again? I've mastered the skill of steaming rice. Have you learned anything from watching Sister Farke's live broadcast for so long? Broken into glass shards. I learned to watch live broadcasts while eating. Thanks to Sister Farke for helping me gain 3 pounds. The grass on my head. You're talking as if no one has gained weight. I've gained a full 5 pounds. Fans watching the live broadcast are communicating in a friendly way using barrages, and occasionally there will be a few reward broadcasts from Krypton Gold Masters. User Rocky wants to eat all over the stars, gave the anchor 99 confession balloons. To congratulate the anchor for his wealth, user Sachiko, who became a money fan, gave the anchor 52 hearts of love for you. Congratulations. Rocky and Sachiko Fujikawa were originally anchors of Pika Live, but after King with Wen Jiu, they successfully became members of the army of money fans. And they were particularly loyal. The two of them are always competing for the top spot, but Rocky is the top spot most of the time. After all, he has a rich family fortune and can spend it at will, unlike Fujikawa Sachiko, who has to make money on her own. Other money fans have long been accustomed to the daily fights between the two. At first, they would sigh in the barrage that the boss is really rich, but later they were even too lazy to discuss it. Only new fans who have just watched the live broadcast will pay attention. One bite of snowflake crisp. New fans ask if they don't understand. Don't we have to thank the rich for the reward? A man like the wind, I can see that the one in front is a real new fan. These two big guys come to fight every time they live broadcast. If you want to thank them for the reward, you may have to send it many times. Beauty is speechless. The Windman can actually help new fans answer questions. You are not the Windman with sweet words in the past. Little bear puff. Puff, when I mention the Windman, I think of Chris. Why haven't I seen Chris for a while? Of course Chris won't show up. After he returned to Noon after his trip to Pariman, he learned that his sister had become a star. Zhuang Rudi became famous with her debut work, and later appeared on the Federal Spring Festival Gala, letting more people know about her debut and fame. This matter had nothing to do with Chris, but the celebrity effect was not something he could withstand. Many people who had lost contact with him before began to look for him, either wanting Zhuang Rudi's private Star Network account, or asking him to help get an autograph. Giving a Star Network account is definitely not an option, but he will still help with a few autographs. But if he helps one, another will come, and as time goes on, more and more people will come. He will be bombarded with messages from these people every day, so that he dare not open the light screen panel to go online. He can be said to be a good person. He is not good at rejecting others, and is unwilling to delete friends, so he can only choose to change the Star Network account, because he is annoyed. However, changing the Star Network account is more troublesome. First, you have to submit an application for change on the Star Network, and then wait for the approval process to be completed before you can change the account. So Chris stayed at home during this period, playing the game console that does not need to log into the Star Network account. Whined like man. Xiaoxing, I will talk to you in private later. Let's not talk about poor Chris for now, just watch the live broadcast of Sister Fake. Although Feng Nan and Chris did not have a pleasant quarrel when they first met, they often chatted in the group of money fans later. After a long time, they became familiar with each other, and it can be said that they did not know each other without fighting. What's wrong with Chris? Wen Jiu just happened to see this barrage passing by. Speaking of which, she hadn't seen Chris appear for a long time. When the other party came to Wen Jiu restaurant before, she was worried whether he would reveal his vest. But fortunately, Chris did not suspect anything, and the other party did not seem to recognize Wen Jiu restaurant when he watched the live broadcast after returning. Whined like man. Sister Fake, I sent you a private message. You will know after you go to watch it after the broadcast. Pumpkin Big Guanan, what should I do if I suddenly feel a little jealous of Chris? He actually attracted the attention of Sister Fake. This scheming man. I want to play missing too. Beauty speechless. Playing missing may not attract Sister Fake's attention, but if you try to join the fight for the top spot, you will definitely attract Sister Fake's attention. Okay, then I'll check the private messages later. Wen Jiu took the opportunity to glance at the barrage. Give gifts within your means. Don't do bad things just to get gifts. Although she can get a portion of the gift money after fans give her gifts, she is still a little afraid of encountering those who borrow money or even loan money in order to get a rank on the reward list. Therefore, she reminds everyone every time she broadcasts live to remember to give gifts within their means. There will be 3 rounds of tasting later today, and I'll make some new desserts for everyone to try. Wen Jiu is still busy with the evening business at this moment, so the tasting session in the live broadcast room has to wait until the end of the business. She put the shredded pork into the pot and stir-fried it, while answering various questions raised by the audience. It doesn't matter if you can't get a taste test. When my snowflake crisps are officially on sale, everyone can go buy some to satisfy your craving. The number of places for taste tests will increase later, but this requires my anchor star rating to be raised. Let's see how this cooperation goes. If the cooperation goes well, I will launch new products later. Wen Jiu had just poured the freshly cooked shredded pork with fish flavor into the plate when he saw a strange comment floating on the light screen. Did the scholar quit the internet today? How can some people still have the nerve to cooperate? It's fine to imitate others' live broadcast style and imitate others' dishes during live broadcasts, but now they are even imitating others to make cooperative products. Today's first update has been delivered. Thank you for the support of the Little Angels 030. Chapter 420 Dragon Beard Cake 2. Although this comment passed by quickly, Wen Jiu still saw it. This situation is not the first time She saw similar comments when she posted a star blog before, but she didn't think deeply at that time and just thought it was a strange comment that came in by mistake. Unexpectedly, when she was broadcasting live now, she saw such inexplicable remarks again. However, before Wen Jiu could ask anything, many familiar viewers popped up at this time. The green grass on the head. I have said that, if you don't have solid evidence, don't talk nonsense. Don't you understand that whoever advocates should provide evidence? The guy next door has been talking nonsense for such a long time and still hasn't stopped. Big brother monkey, before finding any evidence, please don't mess up in the anchor's live broadcast room. Sister Fake will set up an administrator to be responsible for blocking accounts. The man like the wind. Are you guys bored all day long? If you are really bored, go and clean up all the interstellar beasts. You just know how to be a keyboard warrior all day long. I can't stand you people who spray nonsense the most. When Jiu first reminded everyone not to quarrel, and then began to think quietly, and from the comments sent by these viewers, they seem to have seen this kind of weirdo many times. But now is not a good time for her to ask questions, so she decisively clicked the mute function and muted the person who was talking nonsense. 1 week flowering period. What's wrong? Why did I see Sister Fake muting people as soon as I came? The green grass on the head. The person next door just came again, which really made me speechless. It's not enough to quarrel in the audience area, but he has to come to the live broadcast room to be scolded. In addition to the dynamic forum of each anchor, Live also has an audience forum in each zone for everyone to post and play. Although when Jiu rarely goes to the forum because of her busy reality, it does not mean that she does not know the existence of the audience forum. She plans to go to the audience forum after the broadcast to see what is going on. As for now, of course, making money is still important. So when Jiu quickly speeded up the cooking, and after the ingredients for business were used up, he announced to Ziking who was waiting outside that the evening business was over. Wen Jiu restaurant was closed, but the live broadcast of Gongzi Fake had to continue. When Jiu poured the malto she bought into the pot, added a little honey, and slowly cooked it over low heat until the malto softened. Tonight I'm going to make dragon beard pastry, a snack from ancient China. While carefully introducing the origin of dragon beard pastry, she took out the maltose that was boiled to a very soft state, put it on the chopping board, and rubbed it repeatedly, and then repeatedly pulled it, after rubbing it into thin strips. Dragon beard pastry is a kung fu snack, and the maker needs great patience and strong arm strength to pull the maltose as thin as hair. Fortunately, Wen Jiu has been training all the time, and her patience and arm strength are different from ordinary people. She skillfully pulled the maltose repeatedly, and the audience had no intention of making noise. Wanzhao, this is the first time I've seen snacks made this way. I took a screenshot silently. I was a little shocked. Big brother monkey, this is not making snacks. This is clearly making art. Rocky wants to eat all over the stars. How many star coins do I have to spend to be worthy of watching the live show? Sister Fake, you are really a god. The dragon beard pastry was born in the small kitchen in a myriad of forms amid the amazement and shock of the audience. The soft and dense silver threads are as slender as hair, and the small pieces as white as snow. When the breeze blows slowly from the window, there will be fine threads flying slowly in the air. When Jiu had already replaced the little bee with a newer version. At this moment, it intelligently stayed in front of the dragon beard pastry and took a picture of this fairy-like and eye-catching picture. Pumpkin Dagwanan, hello. Is this Wuao food? Please quickly reach a second cooperation with Sister Fake. Beauty speechless. I hope Sister Fake will not be ungrateful and send me the dragon beard crisp directly. Thank you. Otherwise I will stay in the live broadcast room. Whined like man. Sister Fake put the dragon beard crisp in my mouth. Come on. Don't worry, let me taste it first. When Jiu hasn't made dragon beard crisp for a long time. She was still worried about whether she would mess it up before, but the cooking skill is ingrained in her bones, and this dragon beard crisp is still as beautiful as before. She picked up a piece of dragon beard crisp and bit it gently. The snow white sugar thread fell down at the moment it was bitten off, and the audience wanted to rush out of the light screen panel to catch it. The soft but crispy taste hit the soul directly, and the sweet and mellow taste permeated the tip of the tongue, making her smack her lips with satisfaction. I'm so hungry, I suddenly feel like reporting Sister Fake for abusing her fans. Big brother monkey, I'm ready to grab a spot for tasting. No one can be faster than me. Bingon, everyone, please make way. My wish since I was a child is to eat a bite of dragon beard crisps. I hope you can give me this opportunity. Beauty is speechless. If you can't put expressions on barrage, I really want to give you a sweating soybean. Wen Jiu divided the prepared dragon beard crisps into enough portions for tasting, although each portion of dragon beard crisps is not much, only 2 or 3 small pieces are barely enough to taste. But for those viewers who have never eaten it, even a piece of dragon beard crisps can satisfy them. Don't be discouraged if you don't get a tasting seat. In a few days, when I get a star upgrade, there will be a fan-only tasting seat. At that time, I will set the appropriate fan value, based on the reward ranking. It doesn't matter if you don't have enough fans. The snowflake crisps that I cooperated with Wuya Food will be on the market soon. If this cooperation goes smoothly, I will consider launching dragon beard crisps or other foods later. After Wen Jiu turned on the scanning and transmission function to scan the dragon beard crisps away, he answered the audience's questions seriously for a while. It was not until Kyoshi came to knock on the door to remind her that she said goodbye to the audience and turned off the live broadcast. Jiu, we cleaned up the outside. Kyoshi and Zikingayu came in with bowls and plates. Although Wen Jiu set up an intelligent face shield to prevent them from being seen naked, they would deliberately avoid being in the camera every time to avoid being noticed by those viewers. So during the time she was live, they were busy outside silently. Seeing the 2 people coming in, Wen Jiu handed over the dragon beard cake she had specially reserved. This is the dragon beard cake I just made. You guys try it and see how it tastes. Okay. Zikingayu was not polite at all, picked up the dragon beard cake and stuffed it into her mouth. While the 2 of them were eating the dragon beard cake, Wen Jiu slowly walked out of the kitchen to find Chujian. Today's second update has been delivered. Thank you to every little angel for your support. Love you 030. Chapter 421 Strange Sand 1. In the past, after she went off the air, it was always Zikingayu and Chujian who came in to clean up the dishes, but tonight it was Kyoshi who came with Zikingayu. So she walked out of the kitchen with the remaining dragon beard cakes, only to see Chujian leaning nonchalantly against the door, holding something that looked like a cigarette between his fingers. Wen Jiu remembered that there were not many cigarettes for sale here, and many smokers smoked electronic cigarettes. The most important thing was that Chujian had no money to buy cigarettes at all. What are we having for dinner? Why egg noodles again? She was about to walk towards the door when she saw Chujian turned his head and started talking nonsense to her. I've already said I don't want to eat egg noodles. It's egg noodles every day. Aren't you tired of it? Wen Jiu was confused by these words, but she noticed that when Chujian said this, the index finger holding the suspected cigarette was shaking slightly. So she observed carefully for a moment, and then she found that the other party's index finger was shaking in the direction of the door. Seeing this, she deliberately raised her voice and replied, "Eat it if you want, or not. If you don't want to eat, crawl away. Okay, then don't think of me being a waiter here. I'll pack up and leave tomorrow." Chujian raised his eyelids slightly, and a smile flashed in his eyes. The movement here attracted the attention of the 2 children in the kitchen, but they were obediently cleaning up the dishes and hygiene, and did not run out to ask anything. Wen Jiu talked nonsense with Chujian for a long time, until she saw the other party shook his head slightly, and walked towards her, and then stopped talking nonsense. "What did you see just now?" She lowered her voice and asked casually. Chujian first glanced at the kitchen, and then answered, "Someone is watching us outside. I don't know if it's for me or for you." After all, he was a fugitive on the wanted list, so he would naturally pay more attention to the movement outside. Just when the business was closed tonight, he wanted to bring in the kettle outside the door, but the moment he stepped out of the door, he felt the release of the wood power. As far as he knew, Wen Jiu was the only wood-type superpower user in Wen's restaurant, but he was busy broadcasting, live in the kitchen, so it was impossible for him to release his wood-type superpower here. Moreover, most of the residents in the commercial district were ordinary people, so it was even more impossible for them to use superpowers. The most important thing was that the animal nature in his body reminded him that danger seemed to be lurking nearby. I didn't expect you to have this ability. Wen Jiu couldn't help but joked. And is that a cigarette or something in your hand? Chu Jian handed over the paper roll in his hand. I just rolled it out with a tissue. Let's talk business first. I just wanted to help Shishi bring the kettle in, but at the moment, when we turned around, I caught a glimpse of a black shadow flashing by in my peripheral vision. He recalled the scene seriously. You know, the commercial district is brightly lit all year round, and it is really not an easy thing to hide in the dark. At least it is difficult for ordinary people to do this. What's more, here's a trained superpower user with the blessing of animal genes. He only discovered the existence of suspicious people after observation, and it was even more difficult for other people to detect such abnormalities. So you were leaning against the door just now, just to find the trace of that person? Wen Jiu said, and glanced in the direction of the door. She was wondering why Chu Jian suddenly talked nonsense. It turned out that he was afraid that she would alert the enemy if she approached. Hearing this, Chu Jian nodded gently. Yes, but I didn't find the location of that person before. It was not until I pretended to quarrel with you that I found that the branches of the banyan tree opposite us moved. Generally, branches will move when there is wind, but Chu Jian had been observing carefully just now. There was no wind when the branches swayed up and down, which was enough to show that the person was hiding in the tree. It must be the wood-type superpower who released the superpower. Wen Jiu remembered the banyan tree opposite. Although banyan trees are evergreen and lush, the banyan tree opposite Wen's restaurant is particularly bald, with fewer branches and leaves than other banyan trees. That's why she immediately thought of the wood ability. Wood ability users of her level can only summon ethereal vines, but higher level wood ability users can quickly promote the growth of plants through sensory connections with plants. If nothing unexpected happens, the banyan tree at the door was promoted by the wood ability user, which made it grow lush and leafy in a short period of time, enough to cover the existence of that person tightly. Chu Jian glanced in the direction of the door. Well, and I feel that the person's ability level is not low, and it is likely to be above my ability level. His earth ability and gold ability have long reached level 5, and he also has the fusion blessing of animal genes. Although his internal injuries have not fully recovered, his perception will not be affected. Therefore, the person who can avoid being easily discovered by him can only be above his ability level. What are you talking about? Zikingai wiped the water droplets on her hands with a towel. What superpower level? Hearing this, Wen Jiu joked. Oh, I said you are still at the first level of superpowers and can't be promoted. I'm already on the edge of promotion. Okay. Zikingai's face flushed instantly, and she shouted loudly. Kyoshi couldn't help but chuckle. The edge of promotion is still not promoted. Why are you being stubborn here? The originally solemn atmosphere was instantly dispelled by laughter and joy. After Wen Jiu joked with Zikingai a few more times, he told her what happened just now. Her words made Kyoshi's originally curved mouth corners fall down. Someone was watching us outside just now. I didn't even notice it. Wait, how could someone be watching us? Is it to catch Brother Chu who turned into Black Cat? Zikingai reacted very quickly and fooled the past. His desire to survive is very strong. Wen Jiu shrugged, indicating that he couldn't figure it out either. She always felt that this matter would not be that simple. If they really came to monitor and capture Chu Jian, there was no need to be so sneaky. After all, the other party was a wanted person on the Star Network, and they could have sent someone to capture him openly. It was really suspicious and strange to hide and observe them like this. It's normal that you didn't notice it, because your ability level is too low. Chu Jian spoke very bluntly when he was not pretending. If they came to arrest me, it's okay, but I'm afraid they came to arrest your sister Jiu. His simple 2 sentences made Kyoshi and Zikingai speechless. The former began to blame himself silently thinking that this was all caused by not insisting on training after the holiday. The latter fell into anxiety, fearing that the so-called high-level psychic would secretly capture Wen Jiu. Chujian, come to the door and see what this is. After Wen Jiu pushed open the closed glass door, he found that there were a lot of sand grains on the wall outside the door. Today's third update has also been delivered. Thank you little angels for reading this, and the little angels who are following the update can rest early. 030. Chapter 420. To take my thunder, strike one. Wen Jiu's words attracted the attention of the other three people, and they all ran outside to check the sand on the ground. It's so strange. Kyoshi boldly touched it with her hand. I've never seen such white sand. The sand on the ground was not the common earthy yellow, but a light white like snow. There is no sand of this color in the East Lake Scenic area. To be more precise, there is not even any sand here. Chujian frowned after he came over, because this is left by the Earth-type supernatural after the skill was activated. He himself has the Earth-type supernatural, so he naturally knows more about this skill. But after the skill is lifted, there shouldn't be any traces left. Zikingayu stood beside Kyoshi with some doubts. As soon as he finished speaking, Chujian shook his head. This was left deliberately by the supernatural. He should have used the underground escape. Is the underground escape you are talking about the one I know? Wen Jiu listened to Chujian's words and instantly showed a surprised expression. Although she could look up information related to superpowers in the academy library, she had never learned much about superpowers of other departments. Moreover, during class, the teacher would only teach skills that matched their level, so she really didn't know that there was such a magical skill in the Earth-related superpowers. Chujian looked at her curious baby helplessly. Yes, it means that you can escape underground in a short period of time. This skill is generally used for surprise attacks or evasion. Then can you perform an underground escape? How do you feel after escaping underground? How can you breathe? Wen Jiu threw out one question after another, as if he had turned into 100,000 wise. No. Chujian watched her getting closer and closer. Your questions will be answered later. Let's talk about the important things first. At first, he thought that there was only one wood-related superpower hidden in the banyan tree, but he didn't expect that there was an Earth-related superpower so close. And he couldn't even sense the existence of this Earth-related superpower, which was enough to show that this person's superpower level was higher than his, and it was very likely that he was a 6th level or even 7th level superpower. Chujian spoke out his guess, and Zikingayu couldn't help but move behind Kyoshi. This is too scary. His body trembled slightly. That means when we were cleaning just now, someone was outside watching our every move. It seems that my dad was right to let me bring bodyguards to work. I will go back and ask my dad for 10 or 20 bodyguards. Hearing this, Wen Jiu couldn't help but sigh and said, then your dad is really rich. It would cost at least hundreds of thousands of star coins to hire a level 6 or even level 7 superpower person as a bodyguard. Well, it usually costs millions or even tens of millions. And it's hard to find such a high-level superpower person on our planet. You know, teacher Yu only has a level 5 superpower. Kyoshi answered her seriously. Then I will work hard to advance. Zikingayu, ask your dad to give me money, and I can protect your personal safety. Wen Jiu's eyes lit up when he heard the amount. Seeing that the three people were about to talk about something far away, Chujian quickly spoke up. What bodyguards? If those people are determined to ambush us, it will be useless, even if they find a bunch of bodyguards. He was not threatening Wen Jiu and the other two, but seriously stating the facts. Those people have been carrying out the seedling cultivation plan for such a long time without any problems, naturally because there are big shots in the military region backing them up. Even if Zikingayu's father finds a group of bodyguards to guard them, those people have plenty of ways to take them away. What's more, the psychics sent to monitor them are already above level 5, so it is conceivable what level the psychics who will ambush and arrest people in the future will be. Okay, Wen Jiu tugged at the corner of his clothes. Let's send Zikingayu to the car first. Although Zikingayu has always claimed that he wants to be the best in the galaxy, his courage is really only as big as a soybean. He himself hates his cowardice, but it is innate, and it is difficult for him to change for the time being. Chu Jiayan then noticed that Zikingai was trembling slightly, so he swallowed the rest of his words and just nodded silently, to show that he agreed with what Wen Jiu said. Are you going to isolate me? The four of them were walking slowly towards the exit of the East Lake Scenic area, but they heard Zikingai say this halfway. Although he was timid and easily frightened, he was not so timid that he couldn't even listen to what was said. After all, he had the courage to save Wen Jiu and Kaioshishi and Dianui Forest before. Who wants to isolate you? Wen Jiu felt that his words were a bit inexplicable. I'm not worried about you. I don't need you to worry about me. Zikingai suddenly raised his voice and stopped where he was. This young master is not such a fragile and timid person. There was a very unhappy expression on his face, and the yellow light of the street lamp hitting his head inexplicably gave him a sense of loneliness. The brown bangs that reached his eyebrows were a little messy because of the wind. He clenched his fists and looked at Wen Jiu and the other two firmly, but unfortunately, his angry look had no deterrent effect at all. Xiaoqingaiu, you. What's wrong with this young master? When I was in Dianui Forest before, I killed one person with one sword. Xiaoqingaiu wanted to tell his heroic deeds again, but unfortunately, he was not handsome for more than 3 seconds before he was swept aside by the vines that suddenly appeared. The moment he was swept up by the vines, a gust of wind brushed his hair and made him feel like he had brushed shoulders with death. Catch him. Wen Jiu stared at the black shadow behind Xiaoqingaiu with cold eyes. As soon as she finished speaking, Chu Jiayan's figure suddenly disappeared. In the blink of an eye, he flashed in front of the black shadow, holding a shiny longsword in his hand. However, the opponent's reaction was very fast, and he dodged his longsword in an instant. Kaioshishi first used the fireball technique, then took out the pistol from the wisdom ring space and aimed, and decisively fired at the position of the black shadow. This sudden battle made Zikingai a little confused. He was roughly rolled aside by Wen Jiu with vines and thrown to the ground. Just as he was about to stand up, another gust of wind hit him. What do you want to do by staring at me alone? He barely dodged the gust of wind before standing up in a panic. It was at this time that he realized that the surroundings were unusually quiet. Although there were no tourists in the scenic area at this time in the past, there were still many residents in the commercial area who came out for a stroll after eating, and from time to time there would be wild animals that were not afraid of people running around. But now, apart from the four of them, there were only a few mysterious people wearing cloaks, and those people were all glowing with a faint light, which was a precursor to releasing supernatural skills. He quickly took out his pistol and shot at the cloaked man closest to him, but the bullet turned into dust the moment it touched the cloaked man. This is a skill that can only be used by Earth-type psychics of level 5 and above. Stone armor protects the body. Today's first update has been delivered. Thank you for the support of the Little Angels 030. ORZ. I worked hard all night, and the battle is really hard to write. Chapter 423. Take my Thunderstrike 2. Come over here, if you have the guts. Wen Jiu rushed towards the cloaked man with full anger. It was only when she was fighting that she realized that in addition to the black shadow that appeared first, there were actually several mysterious people wearing cloaks lurking around. At this time, she was holding a talisman in her hand, which was her last trump card. She didn't expect things to develop to this point. Just 10 minutes ago, she was still able to fight back and forth with the cloaked man in front of her. At that time, she was still thinking about how to escape with others. However, before she could come up with the best way, those cloaked men seemed to be tired of playing and suddenly began to launch a fierce attack on them. One after another, the supernatural skills were thrown at them, and the supernatural levels of these cloaked men were all higher than Thiz. She and Chu Jiayan could barely dodge them, but Kaioshishi and Zikingai were both first level supernatural users. If she and Chu Jiayan could not construct a barrier, the two of them would not even be able to dodge the attack. But the cloaked man's attack was too fierce. Kaioshishi and Zikingai were injured because they couldn't dodge in time. It would definitely not work if she continued to dodge like this, so she took out her signature talisman. This was the first attack talisman she drew after coming to the Interstellar. This talisman was different from the talismans she usually sold for fortune telling. Therefore, she just drew a few of them casually during practice, but she never thought that this attack talisman would come in handy one day. The cloaked man closest to Wen Jiu didn't understand what she was saying at all. He just stretched out his hand and ignited a cluster of flames, then put his hands together to make the flames jump and grow in the air. The next second, the hot flames rushed out like a snake. Seeing this, she quickly condensed a barrier with a green glow in front of her. The fire snake flew at a very fast speed and almost attacked her before her barrier was constructed. Although the supernatural barrier blocked the attack of the fire snake, the barrier that exhausted its defense power disappeared in an instant, so she had to distract herself again to condense a new barrier to prevent other cloaked men from continuing to attack her. Chujian squatted in front of Kaioshishi and Zikingai with a pale face. He gasped and constructed a new barrier to block the attack, but his internal injuries had not yet healed, and he had consumed too much energy. If there was another wave of attacks, he would not be able to withstand it. Although there were only 5 cloaked people here, their abilities were all at level 5 or above, which was not something that he and Wen Jiu could handle. I sent a message to my dad, my brother, and teacher Yu. Hiss. Zikingai was sweating from the pain. While the cloaked people were staring at Wen Jiu, he quickly opened the light screen panel and sent a message for help. Compared with him, Kaioshishi's situation was more serious. At least he could endure the pain and pay attention to the movements, and he had the energy to find the right time to secretly send a message. But Kaioshishi was almost unconscious at this time. Shishi, don't sleep. He hugged her in his arms with an anxious look on his face. You must not sleep. If he hadn't been distracted for a moment just now, Kaioshishi wouldn't have been so seriously injured. Self-blame and regret spread in his heart little by little. This kind of pain he had never experienced made him very confused. The girl in his arms closed her eyes tightly, and her fair face was stained with glaring blood. Such a picture was like a thorn in his heart. Zyokingyu, you are so noisy. Kaioshishi's breathing became shallower and shallower. After opening her eyes, she struggled to squeeze out a smile, as if to comfort Zyokingyu, who was crying constantly. Shishi, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Zyokingayu's tears were like pearls that broke off the string, which made Kaioshishi's smile even deeper. He was about to say something else when he saw Chujian suddenly turned his head and shot a gust of wind in the direction behind him. There was clearly nothing behind them, but the gust of wind touched an unknown object after flying not far away, and a little spark appeared at the moment it dissipated. It's a barrier blockade. Chujian's voice was cold. Only when the supernatural level reaches level 6 can one comprehend the skill of barrier blockade. Barrier blockade is not something that everyone can use. In addition to consuming a lot of supernatural energy, it also requires a user's mental strength to be high enough. Chujian couldn't help but laugh at himself. These people are really willing to spend a lot of money and send a supernatural person who can use barrier blockade. He should have noticed that there was something wrong with the way home today, such as the quiet and somewhat weird scenic road, and the wild animals that usually love to run around but disappeared tonight. He carefully recalled the previous things. It should be when they walked out of the commercial area that they fell into the barrier blocked by the cloaked man. Brother Harry, go and help for a while. Kaioshishi's voice was very weak, but fortunately Chujian had sharp hearing and could hear her words clearly. He instantly caught the name of Brother Harry, but now was not a good time for him to ask questions. So he looked at Wen Jiu. He really wanted to help the other party deal with the cloaked man, but his internal injuries really affected his performance, and he didn't expect that the other party could still persist in fighting like a perpetual motion machine that would not consume energy. Wen Jiu dealt with these cloaked men very flexibly with the growing vines and fireballs. She knew that she didn't have much time to delay. Although she didn't feel the energy exhaustion until now, the injured Kaioshishi and Zikingai couldn't wait any longer. She held the talisman and scanned the 5 cloaked men around her. They all wore black masks, so that she couldn't see their appearance clearly. The black cloaks on their bodies covered them from head to toe. Unless she could see through them, she could see the physical characteristics of these people. Thinking of this, Wen Jiu suddenly laughed out loud. This extremely abrupt laughter made the cloaked people stunned. She took this opportunity to use the vines and fireballs to cover and quickly ran towards the cloaked man closest to her. "Take my 5 thunderbolts." Wen Jiu put the talisman in her hand on the cloaked man, and her hands kept flying to condense one complex handprint after another. In an instant, dark clouds gathered, and dust filled the sky. Lightning stretched out in all directions like tree branches, cutting the entire sky into pieces. The white light across the sky was dazzling and beautiful, and there was a deafening thunder. Is it great to have superpowers? Taste the power of your ancestors. Wen Jiu's voice just fell, and countless lightning with dazzling light, as if consciously struck the cloaked man heavily. The cloaked man wanted to use a superpower barrier to block it, but his barrier was instantly shattered by the lightning, and he instantly became a real black cloaked man. A pungent smell of burning was accompanied by white smoke, and the light of the lightning reflected Wen Jiu's pretty face. She looked at the other cloaked people with a smile, stretched out her hand and waved, "Please invite the next customer to experience the lightning massage." The second update of today is also delivered. Thank you little angels for your support, and love 030. Chapter 424, the correct use of the golden whip. 1. In addition to the cloaked man who was split into charcoal, there were 4 cloaked men left standing still. It was not that they didn't want to move, but that they didn't dare to move. The lightning above their heads was still flashing, and they didn't expect Wen Jiu to have this trick. "Let me think. I'll choose you next." Although Wen Jiu was busy fighting just now, he didn't forget the movements of others. She remembered which cloaked men hurt Kaioshishi and Zikingayu. Even though these people wore the same masks and the same cloaks, she could still identify them from the supernatural powers they used. As she said that, she took out another 5 Thunders bombardment talisman and held it in her hand while controlling the vines to attack the cloaked man who hurt Kaioshishi. The main reason was that her spiritual power was too low now, and she had to stick it on someone to launch an attack. If she had been at her peak, she wouldn't have needed to stick the talisman so hard. She could easily condense the hand seal to summon lightning, and the talisman now only played a supporting role. However, with the previous experience, the cloaked people would not let her get close to them easily. They all wanted to take advantage of this moment, to use their superpowers to beat her, so that she could no longer resist. The cloaked person with the highest superpower level here was an earth-type superpower. He took a horse step and began to stomp the ground with one foot. Dust flew in the air and a hideous crack appeared on the ground in an instant. Then the cloaked person who had been hiding in the banyan tree and observing secretly before quickly gave birth to many plants to weave into a large net, and countless vines attacked Wen Jiu. The order they received was to capture important targets alive, not to injure or kill important targets. They did not dare to take too heavy a hand unless necessary. But after seeing the power of the 5 Thunders just now, they all changed their minds about capturing targets alive. After all, the thunder could instantly break their superpower barriers. Who would dare to keep Wen Jiu to continue attacking in this situation? Is this all you have? Wen Jiu looked at the cracks in the ground and the vines that were attacking, and couldn't help but reveal a confident smile. Hot and dazzling deep blue flames ignited from her hands. She imitated the fire-type psychic who used skills just now, clasped her hands together, and raised her thumbs high. The agile fire snake suddenly jumped out from her hands, opened its mouth to meet the flying thick vines, and in the blink of an eye, it devoured the dancing vines into ashes. Seeing this, the other 2 cloaked men quickly used their supernatural skills. Wen Jiu, be careful behind you. A flying knife flew quickly behind her, and Chujian couldn't help but shout out in worry. Kaioshishi closed her eyes tightly in Zikingayu's arms, fearing that she would see some bad scenes. At this moment, a long whip flashing with green light suddenly hit over, knocking the flying knife to the ground with a snap. The cloaked man who threw the flying knife had no time to react before he was whipped away by the whip that suddenly appeared. "You blind man, you dare to hit my people." Ruman was fully armed, as if she was here to save the world, which was in stark contrast to the beaten faces of Wen Jiu and the other 4. She wore a red combat uniform that was as bright as flames, and her long black curly hair was tied up high with a ribbon. The only thing that was a little inappropriate was the red high-heeled boots on her feet, but she soon proved with practical actions that even wearing high heels would not affect her speed, accuracy, and ruthlessness in fighting. Yu-Ruman first glanced in the direction of Chujian, and then clenched the long whip and swung it at the nearest cloaked man. The cloaked man reacted very quickly to dodge the whip, but the next second the tail of the long whip split into two halves and continued to attack him from the left and right sides. He was tied up before he could dodge, which made others realize that it was not a long whip at all, but a vine that could split continuously. Yu-Ruman easily pulled up the vine and swung it into the air. The cloaked man, who was tightly bound by the vine, flew into the sky, but the seemingly soft vine pierced into his body in the blink of an eye. When he fell heavily to the ground, only his cold and stiff body was left. The most bizarre thing was that the blood in his body seemed to have been drained, and not a drop of blood flowed out after he fell to the ground. Under the gaze of the remaining two cloaked men, Yu-Ruman walked to the cloaked man whose blood was drained. A trace of ferocity flashed in her charming eyes, and then she raised her foot high and dropped it hard. The pointed high heels directly crushed the man's hand that threw the knife. The sound of the click made the other people's scalps numb, and the last two cloaked men felt even more creepy. Seeing this, Chu Jian couldn't help but narrow his eyes. If he remembered correctly, this skill of using vines to drain other people's blood was classified as a forbidden technique by the Federation. Yu-Ruman is a teacher at the 3047 Academy after all. How could she not know what skills can be learned and what skills are not allowed to be understood? They want to run. Wen Jiu just wanted to take the opportunity to try out his golden whip and saw the remaining two cloaked men began to retreat continuously. She quickly put away the talisman and took out the golden whip to chase after them. Although the whip of the golden whip can be extended to a very long length, she still wanted to get closer to test the power. After all, the extension of the golden whip consumes a lot of mental energy, and she didn't want to faint just to test the power. Hearing this, Yu-Ruman directly spread her arms and established a sensory connection with all the plants. The next second, countless plants began to grow rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. A small white flower that originally bloomed on the roadside was stimulated to grow and quickly became larger than the rice plate in Wen's restaurant. Wow. Wen Jiu couldn't help but sigh and then whipped the cloaked man in front of him. It was impossible not to make up the knife. She was not a righteous character in the anime. Not only did she swing her whip, she also launched a fireball attack, fearing that the two cloaked men in front of her would escape in front of her. Yu-Ruman originally wanted to get rid of the two men directly, but when she saw that Wen Jiu was so interested and energetic to continue fighting, she retracted most of the vines that would attack, leaving only the growing plants to prevent the cloaked men from escaping. Seeing this, the cloaked man who used the barrier blockade quickly withdrew his skills. It was not that he could not defeat Wen Jiu, who only had a second level ability behind him, but because Yu-Ruman, who suddenly appeared, made him feel scared. You know, he is a 6th level earth type ability user, and the barrier blockade he constructed is difficult to break. Only people with strength above him can find the barrier point from the outside world without being noticed by him. He is now regretting very much. The information they got was obviously very accurate, but how could things develop to this point? Anyway, no matter so much, staying alive is the most important thing. Anyway, the organization did not ask them to catch the person back this time. Wen Jiu, who was chasing them closely, looked at the plants that were still growing bigger, and suddenly a flash of inspiration came to her mind. She seemed to know the correct way to use the golden whip. Today's third update has also been delivered. Angels who are following the update should rest early. After reading it W equals. Chapter 425, the correct use of the golden whip 2. She tried to activate the energy in her body, and the golden whip, which originally glowed only with paint, now shone with a dazzling green light that she had never seen before. Then she stopped and turned her wrist and easily whipped out a whip without any sense of weakness from the previous energy being drained away. The whip rushed out like a spirit snake, and in the blink of an eye, it touched and wrapped around the cloaked man's ankle. The cloaked man, who was entangled by the golden whip, found it difficult to break free and fell heavily to the ground. Wen Jiu tried to inject the energy of the fire element into the golden whip again. The golden whip, which originally glowed with dazzling green light, suddenly turned into dark blue, and the blazing flames burned from the bottom of the whip to the end of the whip. The cloaked man was first startled by this sudden change, and before he could react to how to escape, the blazing fire spread to his body in the blink of an eye, and the dark blue dazzling flames instantly surrounded him. Go. The scorching flames made him roll wildly on the ground. The severe pain made him unable to even shout. He could only spit out these two words with all his strength at the last second, before he was burned to ashes. The only remaining cloaked man was shocked by this scene. When he accepted the mission, he never thought that the situation would turn out like this. It was just to capture a few low-level psychics alive. How could he and his teammates end up like this? He desperately ran forward while thinking about countermeasures, and did not forget to turn back and use skills to block Wen Jiu's pursuit. According to common sense, as a 6th level Earth type psychic, the skills he released would be difficult for Wen Jiu, a 2nd level psychic, to receive or destroy. But the golden whip, which was classified as a 5th level weapon, was a variable. As long as it could be used to its true power, it could be comparable to or even far better than the attack of the 5th level psychic. Therefore, Wen Jiu kept swinging the golden whip while chasing, and he could easily break the cloaked man's attack. Just as she was about to inject more wood energy into the golden whip, she saw the cloaked man who was running away frantically stopped. Get out of the way. As Uruman's voice fell, the ground suddenly began to shake, and dust filled the sky. A mysterious vortex appeared in front of the cloaked man. After he shouted, the vortex began to suck in the surrounding dust. Just like a fairy in an animation, the dust in the vortex gradually formed a human figure. Wen Jiu quickly stepped back a few steps and constructed a shield to block in front of her. As soon as she finished constructing the shield, she saw a stone man about 3 meters tall standing in front of her. The next second, the stone man suddenly swung a punch at her. It was impossible to stand there stupidly. She did a side flip to avoid it, and then landed steadily on the ground. While she was thinking about what skill this was, she dodged the stone man's fist attack. The sound of falling fists kept ringing in her ears, and the huge stone man smashed one pit after another on the ground. Wen Jiu, come back. Uruman looked at her anxiously. The cloaked man had already lifted the barrier blockade when he was escaping. The stone man's fierce attack scared the wild animals and made them run wildly. Some residents who were disturbed by the bangs came over here. Seeing this, Uruman had to release her barrier blockade first. After all, it would not be good for anyone if this matter got out of hand, and she would not be able to explain if she alarmed too many people. Wen Jiu wanted to run back, but the stone man changed his moves. After punching for a while, it kept making snowball movements and then threw one earth ball after another in her direction. The moment those uneven earth balls landed, they would explode into endless powder with a bang, and the power of the explosion was no less than that of the stone man's fist attack. The most unbearable thing for her was that the powder was very choking after it floated in the air. She only inhaled a little and was choked and coughed wildly. It was really difficult to continue to avoid it under such circumstances. Wen Jiu dodged another earth ball explosion. After she landed on the ground, she covered her nose and mouth with her sleeves and then rushed to the stone man as fast as she could. The golden whip in her hand wrapped around the stone man's neck with a snap. She pulled hard and kicked off with her legs and immediately flew to the stone man's back and stepped firmly. The stone man is not afraid of thunder, right? She pressed the 5 thunders bombing talisman behind the stone man's head. I want to see today whether you, the stone man, will be struck by thunder. After saying that, she retracted the golden whip and jumped back. The stone man seemed to have intelligence, but in fact he was still controlled by the cloaked man. If the 5 thunders bombing talisman was attached to the cloaked man, he would be afraid and try to tear up the talisman. But now the stone man who was attached with the talisman was not afraid of thunder, so he stood not far away and continued to control it without fear, throwing one explosive earth ball after another at Wen Jiu crazily. Wen Jiu felt that her physical strength was a little insufficient. After all, she had been busy making money during this period and had no time to train to increase her physical strength. So after dodging the explosive earth ball that passed by, She swung her golden whip and directly wrapped around a large tree not far away, and then pulled her hard and flew towards the tree. However, those explosive earth balls seemed to have their own positioning and followed her closely. And the moment she landed on the tree trunk, the explosive earth balls exploded in the air. Seeing this, Wen Jiu had figured out the attack range of these earth balls. At the same time, the cloaked man also found that his earth balls could not explode the enemy at all, so he changed his attack method again and let the stone man take steps towards Wen Jiu. His stone man's only long range attack is the explosive earth ball, and if he wants to perform other attack skills, he must get close. However, before the stone man took a few steps, a red and black mecha of the same height as it flew in front of it. After the red and black mecha landed, it teleported to the back of the stone man and kicked him. The stone man was kicked out instantly. However, before it landed on the ground, it was pierced by the sharp blade transformed by the mecha's left hand. Then the mecha flew up and stepped heavily on the pierced stone man, and with just one kick, the stone man was trampled into dust on the ground. Wen Jiu was both excited and heartbroken when she saw this scene. It was the first time she saw a real mecha, and she was very excited at the moment. But what made her very sad was that her 5 Thunders bombardment talisman was buried in the dust, and she didn't know if she could find it later. The reversed battle situation made the cloaked man subconsciously take out the mecha starter, but Uruman didn't give him the opportunity to summon the mecha at all. She flew over with the mecha and chopped it down with a knife, and the cloaked man was split into 2 in the dark night. Today's first update has been delivered. Thank you all little angels for your support and love. 030. I have been busy with school recently and have not had time to reply to the thank you card. Little angels who have rewarded me, don't panic. The little author will definitely reply. 030. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.